How long have you guys been doing your podcast?
We just shared our 19th episode.
Right. So that's been what, like 2 years?
Roughly speaking, yeah, give or
That's
take.
good. That's good for 2 years.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a gap of a couple months, pandemic, injuries, family stuff.
Well, and I think the pandemic, as much as everyone thought it would be easy to podcast, it wasn't necessarily true. Okay, according to all these screens I'm looking at in front of me, we should be streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch.
Oh my goodness, that's a bunch.
So we'll see. Let me see if hang on, make sure I don't back out. If I back out, if I disappear, let me know. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm recording all of this. That's my only. Share screen. It's just. All right. Okay, I think I got that. And I think I got your. I didn't have a logo for you yet, John. I didn't know what your podcast was going to be called. Okay.
Yeah, we're still.
The name is, well, I wouldn't say the name's super important, but it's probably harder than you know. I just know we named Zoe Star Wars Geek Girl. 5 episodes in, she starts podcasting with Lizzie, and I couldn't change it to Star Wars Geek Girls because that was like a pseudo porn site.
Yeah, so, you don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah. So especially when you're
yeah, when you're talking about teenagers, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, so Anthony and I had talked about doing a show for a while and talked about it. And originally we were going to do Thank the Maker. And then when we finally got around to looking it up, there was actually someone out there who already had that. So we couldn't use that. So then we went to Thank the Makers, plural, and then decided that wasn't catching on. So we changed it to The Forces Behind Star Wars.
All right, yeah. Well, I love you guys' podcast. I hate when you just put it on video though, because I miss it because I can't watch a video while I drive. So I hope I'm recording this thing.
Well, what ends up happening is one of our guys does so we record it through Zoom. So he has the video, and he just puts that up there before we do the editing for the audio, and then the audio gets posted a day or two later. So that's why there's that delay between the video and the audio.
Oh, okay. Well, let's first, I guess we should all introduce ourselves, because I don't know what I'm going to do with this audio. This is me. You guys are my guinea pigs for testing this for Zoe. But if, again, I'm going to probably open up YouTube and see what it looks like for us, what other people are seeing. You guys might want to, I don't know what devices you have, but we'll introduce ourselves. I'll go first just because, But my name is Mike Hinton, and I guess I'm kind of a podcaster.
Well, we got someone that's online with us right now. Kevin's online with us.
Nice. Okay, here we go, Kevin. YouTube present. So yeah, now I see. I gotta. Can you guys see the chat?
Yes, I can see the chat perfectly.
Okay, good. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
I'm trying to look at all these.
Kevin laughed that he didn't know the backstory behind the Star Wars Geek Girl name, so we've already got one person laughing at it. So we'll count that.
Well, good. Well, so yeah, we're not
close it out for the rest of the night.
We're not Star Wars Geek Girls, in case you haven't noticed, or if you're blind and deaf, I guess then you probably wouldn't be watching YouTube. But my name's Mike Hinton, and my daughter does Star Wars Geek Girl. This is their 7th year, and I do a podcast called Creatacast. I mainly produce Zoe's show. And I've been listening to podcasts forever, since at least 2006. I listened to the 500 First Cast and a bunch of other ones. And I just like talking about Star Wars. And these are 2 gentlemen I met through Star Wars. I don't think there's any way I would have met either of you guys if it wasn't for Star Wars. So Ken, I'll let you go. I'll let you go next.
Okay, well, I'm Ken Bishop. I actually am on a show called The Forces Behind Star Wars. And it started off me and my friend Anthony, who became friends by meeting in the toy department of Target, looking at Star Wars toys.
Best Star Wars meetup ever.
And then he connected with one of his other friends, Demetrius, who's in California. So the three of us recorded a bunch of episodes. And then just recently, Anthony brought on two more guests, two more friends. So our what started off as two people has now grown to 5 people on the forces behind Star Wars. And we just recorded and released our 19th episode.
And you're also tell them the other things you do in Star Wars land.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good thing to mention. So I'm an official member of the Mandalorian Mercenaries. I have a custom Mandalorian costume, not the Mandalorian, but a custom Mandalorian.
Lowercase Mandalorian.
Yeah, lowercase Mandalorian. And my character's name is Kenix Gar Kabur. Kenix because it kind of goes with my name Ken. Gar is Mandoa for your, and Kabur is Mandoa for protector. So I'm Kenix, your protector. I serve as a bodyguard to whoever wants to hire me.
Nice. All right,
My
John,
turn.
it's all you.
Well, my name is John Scalise. I am a Star Wars TikToker, very much so part-time anymore. Spelled exactly how it's spelled here. I met Mike through my TikTok, would just pop into my lives and just chat about, and then I think probably 2 or 3 months later, we started doing lives together when we finally figured it out.
Right, yeah, that was horrendous sometimes starting out.
Yeah, thankfully they've made it a lot easier since then.
Yes.
Then met Ken at when we were doing the Han Solo Chronicles, a Star Wars short film. Mike is going to have more information on that than I would. But yeah, I am not an official member of any group as of yet. I also have a Mandalorian Mercenaries costume on the way, and then a TK Stormtrooper coming as well.
Oh, if we go down that path of all the things we have on the way,
come to my house.
We should mention that I don't know if you're in the group or not, Mike or John, but yeah. Mike has started a group for building Tusken costumes. So pretty soon we're going to have a whole tribe of Tusken Raiders, and I also have another Mandalorian costume in the works, a Post Imperial. So. And Mike, you have what, 532 costumes in process right now?
Yeah, I think I have. I think if I get them all done, it'll be by the time I die. But no, I'm a 501st member. I have a TK. I only have one costume technically for myself, but I have a Sand Trooper that's nearly approved. I just literally have to get my lazy button, scuff up some shoes. But I build costumes. I build droids. My daughter does 000. And my other daughter does Sabine, and yeah, I met these guys in different ways. Like Ken, I met you at an armor party, I think, Ken.
Yep, a Mandalorian armor party. That's
correct.
Mandalorian
armor party, and mainly because I wasn't really technically invited. I was just Zoe's driver, if I remember correctly. When I came, and which is how I'm known. I'm pretty much known as the girls' driver. When they were little, I was the guy who drove the Jawas, and then now I'm the guy who brings 000. So I'm fine with that.
Well, and Sabine. I mean, that's how.
Sabine. Yeah, but she trips without me now, so But yeah, I want to do a custom Mando, and the Book of Boba Fett, which I liked. We can talk about that in a minute. But the one thing I realized in the Book of Boba Fett, as much as I love Boba Fett, and I've been working on a Boba Fett costume. When I saw Din Djarin, I realized how much more I love his costume, which I know is blasphemous for someone my age to say that, but that was seeing him, I was like, oh man, I really do like that style Mando.
It's all right, Mike. You can admit it. There is some good in new Star Wars that's better than the original trilogy.
I love it all. Okay, I'm at the point now where I just even get angry when people rank it. I'm just like it. Just like it. I mean, I know you have to
as one big thing.
It's just like it as a giant ball of whatever.
Yeah, it's all Revenge of the Sith and then everything else. That's the only ranking.
How many copies of that DVD do you have?
I haven't counted in a while, but I think I'm up to 118. I think was the last I checked.
Oh, 100, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Let me make sure I understand that right. So you're saying that you have a 118 copies of that single movie.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, like from different countries, from
Nope, it's all just the 2005 DVD release.
I'm looking at Ken's face, and he's just like, what?
because I can understand collecting the variants, but but
I think you need a heat gun, and you need to melt all of that down into a suit of
into
armor.
armor, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see, I just grabbed a handful, but
Okay, fair enough.
it's all just I've got don't worry, I've got a variety of widescreen and full screen.
They used to call that letterbox back in the day.
Yeah, right.
I bought my big box of the original trilogy on letterbox. It was the first movies I bought. It was the big blue box letterbox VHS, and But yeah, Ken, you brought up the Tuscans, and Marty and I were actually just talking about that. We were like, yeah, we got to get some days set up. I got to get some info out. I should have brought it down, but I think I figured out the Tuscan's eyes for that, because the new Tuscan's eye stalks are shorter, which makes them easier to see out.
Yeah.
And I was like taking stills and printing them out and doing my scale factor and stuff like that and trying to measure out how long they were and stuff. So I think I got a pretty good feel for them.
Nice.
So John just sent some messages to me about a podcast, which he knows a lot about podcasting. Ken knows a lot about podcasting. We all know different stuff about podcasting. So I thought this would be a good time just to talk a little bit about Star Wars podcasting in general, because it's kind of like that. It's like that thankless job that everyone loves to do.
That is for sure. And one of the things I've learned since, actually having a show is the breadth of Star Wars podcasts that are out there. Because before we started, I knew of a handful.
Yeah.
And now that I'm part of one, I'm aware of a lot more. And what's weird is I've become far more selective about which ones I'll listen to. There are some that I absolutely positively will listen to over and over and over again.
Yep.
Because they're fun, they're creative, they're wacky, they're silly, they're thought out and kind. And then there are others where I'll listen to maybe the first 5 minutes of them and say, yeah, this show is not for me, not even close.
Yep. Well, and I know for me, like I always think of podcasting, there's like the pre-written podcasts. So sometimes I like some of those. I'm not a big fan of all that style, but like Coffee with Kenobi is a good example of a well-produced, like written down scripted show. Like it has some, but then I also I like the more spontaneous shows too sometimes. And then I think like Ken, yours is like that. It's almost like a cross between both. Like they have you're like the guy that keeps them on the rails, like
as best as I can.
Right. But
if you've listened to our show, you'll know that we start off somewhere and it goes, 16 miles out into the desert, and I'm not sure if we're ever able to come back.
I think that's what people like, though, because I think we live in a society with so many out of touch famous people. Even though podcasters aren't famous, you like to get to know them and their opinion, and they are famous to you. Like there are podcasters I will probably never meet that get me to work every day. Because I listen to mine, and usually by Friday I'm scrambling. Okay, if people are slow, or like if it's a slow week for podcasts, and I try to pick up a new one here or there, and they get me to and from work. The topics they talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I just within the last 520 days started working for a new organization, and my commute is an hour roughly each way. So I've got 2 hours where I get to listen to stuff. Yeah. So I've listened to a bunch of podcasts since I started working at this new job, and it does help me get through the day. There are some days where it helps me get the motivation to go, and other times it helps me, decompress or chuckle on the way back. And I see that Kevin's making some comments here in the chat. It says it's nice to meet me. I'm wondering, Kevin, what kind of things do you look for or listen for in the podcast that you consume? Just to try to see
if you listen to them.
Yeah, if you listen to them, yeah, that's a good point.
And if you don't, give them a try.
See, that's kind of my problem. Is I I don't really have the time to listen to podcasts because unlike you guys, because I know Mike, your commute's about the same, about an hour
Yeah,
one
it's
way.
about an hour. It's about an hour.
See, mine's only about 25 minutes to a half hour. So my biggest problem is I don't want to get too invested, work a 10-hour day, and then totally forget where I left off. So like I was just working on my helmet, so I'm like, well, I need something to listen to. Don't really want to listen to music, so I just threw on Star Wars Geek Girl, the latest episode. So I was listening to that. Honest to God, while I was working on my helmet. So that's really the only time that I have to listen to like a well thought out podcast is something that I know I'm going to be doing for more than 15, 20 minutes.
Well, and there is a lot of podcasters that don't even listen to podcasts. Like, and not out of any hatred for the medium. It's just like you said, their lives are that way, and they don't listen as much as I don't know if I'm lucky to be able to drive an hour, but I drive an hour. I can listen at work this year. My old room, I had no signal in my room, so I couldn't listen. This year, I can. If I'm grading papers, I'll throw some on. I just have to watch like language. Like I yelled at Zoe because she said shit or something like that. Which isn't bad, but I was like, just be careful because I don't want to have to put the warning or get something from Apple or something. But I mean that's the thing. I think people just like to hear that, and that's what I was saying to you. And I think Ken's going to hear a repeat because I had given Ken my 2 cents too sometime. But like I like podcasts with multiple people on them, and it doesn't have to even be the regular. As long as there's like a regular anchor for it, it can be different people because there's a few people that can pull off a one-man podcast, but it's tough.
I think that kind of stuff does take a lot more attention, more preparation. I don't think it's one of those things that you can do an effective stream of consciousness. And I think one of the things I like about spending so much time with you, Mike, and as I get to spend more time with John, is we tend to create those shows that are engaging, that feel like a bunch of friends just talking, and we tend to lean on the positive side of things.
Yes.
Because there's as silly as this may sound, there's a lot of dislike, almost hatred for different portions of the Star Wars universe, which absolutely positively baffles me. I don't understand how someone could get so feisty and frustrated with something that's meant to be entertainment. Because for me, if entertainment, if there's a form of entertainment that I don't like, I don't invest in it. I don't ingest it. I don't even bother being involved in it. But
Right.
Some folks really get excited about talking about how bad it is or how silly it is. Or I mean, so on the day that the final episode of the Book of Boba Fett aired, within a few hours of it being released, someone had already come out and said how lame the whole series was.
Yeah.
And I feel like that leans into the fact that Star Wars is so big as just a form of entertainment now that it's an easy target.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you get people who like to harp on the negative aspects of it, and it's no matter what, you could throw a stone and hit 2 people who don't like something about a specific Star Wars story.
Oh, definitely.
That's understandable. However, when they go to the extremes of attempting to convert you to why you should dislike what I dislike, or why you should think what I think, like I've never been a fan of that mentality, especially as it relates to something that has brought me joy for so many years.
Well, and also, and I know it's kind of a line from The Last Jedi, but you don't want to be known for what you hate. Like there's a few things that maybe a few things, I don't know, that I don't like about Star Wars, but I guarantee you no one can say, oh yeah, that's that Mike guy who hates blah, 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 and there are people I know that, like my one boss at work, every time he sees me, he up until the newest movies, he would just harp on Jar Jar Binks. I knew that was going to be the first sentence, no matter what, and that was for years. Jar Jar was like the go-to, like, this is what I hate about Star Wars, and now it's whatever, So and I surround myself with people like you guys. Like, I think for as much as we did for Matt in that armor, that was as tired as I was, and I was worried about John. Like, I couldn't celebrate until I knew John was home safe because he drove like
15 hours.
Yeah, 15 hours, stood in armor for 15 hours, and then drove back from 15 hours. So I was petrified.
Yeah, I think at the end of that day, I was up for 49 straight hours. I slept so good that Sunday. Or no. Yeah, we did it on Saturday. So yeah, it would have been Sunday.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of stuff, like, if everyone would just get out of their comfort zone and maybe meet someone out of, like, they might find someone positive in Star Wars. Like, my students now like Star Wars now. It's kind of neat because I can talk Star Wars with students, and I can.
Well, if you think about it, George meant for it to be, movies for kids to teach lessons, whether you're talking about history lessons or you're talking about life lessons. I mean,
yep.
The way that I understood it, and I've never met George, or I haven't met George yet.
Yeah, yeah.
However, I think that when I do, he'll just reinforce this idea. He wanted it to be fun. He wanted it to be creative. He wanted to use it as a vehicle to teach stories and stuff. So,
yeah, the closest I got to George was when they filmed Zoe's episode of our Star Wars stories. The Lucasfilm people told Jordan that they showed it to George and he liked it. That's as close as I think I'll probably ever get to George.
Really? I was in the same room with him once.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was hoping to run into him in Chicago when we were at the Phantom Menace panel. I was like, oh, George Lucas, because if he would have come out, I would have just been happy to be in, and he did. They just showed a video.
So. Yeah, we went to Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. No, well, we went to Anaheim. When was the 40th? That was what, 2017?
Was that Orlando? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, it was Orlando. So 2017. My youngest stepson and I, we stayed overnight in the convention center. He slept on the floor, and I stayed awake the whole night. And then George came out for the 40th anniversary panel, and we were 2 rows from the front. We were in the second row. It was like you could have pushed me over with a feather. It was that amazing. I'm goosebumpy now just talking about it. It was awesome, absolutely awesome.
If you ever get a chance, you got to talk to Marty about. He went to the first celebration.
The one in the mud in Indianapolis or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, I knew it was happening, but I was at a point in my life that I just couldn't. It wouldn't have been a good fit for where we were at in our life, because I forget what year that was, but I was like, it wasn't feasible, and I really never thought I'd go to a celebration. It just always seemed financially out of my reach. And then once I went, I was like, oh crap, I'm going to be screwed every time. Every time it's around.
Yeah, look, I'm just jealous of you guys that you've made it to Celebration. That's a bucket list item for me.
Well, I tell you, once you go, you won't stop.
Yeah.
What's funny? It's funny that you mentioned that, Mike, that you won't stop. So, for my 40th birthday, Heather took me and the rest of the family to California to go to Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim. Then we went to Orlando. Then the whole family went the whole time. And then for Chicago, it was just the 2 of us, and we went for 1 day. And I'm going to sound like a spoiled child when I say this. 1 day is not enough.
Oh,
it's not enough. There's so much to see.
Now, did I know you then, Ken, at Chicago?
I think so, but it may have been like we were definitely more acquaintances at that point. But it was, yeah. So once you go, John, make sure you foot for the whole kit and caboodle, because once you get a taste of it, it's one of those things that you want to repeat again and again and again.
The hotel was fire code breaking rules that Saturday or Friday night. And it was Hip Hop Trooper and his dancing people till like 2 a.m. It was crazy,
Yeah, I was just having this conversation with my dad last night. Because I want to go to Celebration, but I told him, I was like, I'm going to spend a lot of money while I'm there. So Anaheim's kind of out of the question. I needed to come back to either Chicago or Orlando so I can drive, so I have a place to sleep.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, why pay for a hotel when you have a mobile home?
Well, I got a book for 3, so it doesn't work out that well.
I'm in a very good, unique situation.
Yeah. But and you won't spend money really at the Celebration store only because it takes so long to get in. Like, you either spend a lot because you just waited in line for 2 hours, or you're just like fed up and you'll just go through. But it was just honestly, like, I went to some panels. I went to some really small panels. Like, I went to one where it was like Star Wars trivia. It was just a couple doing Star Wars trivia. That was really fun. It was like it was like people bringing their kids in and stuff. And it's going to be different in Anaheim because I can't take any costumes. So, I mean, I could, but I don't trust the air people with any of my costumes. So,
well, you should reach out to the Pennsylvania Mercs. I know a bunch of them are driving. Maybe they'll.
Again, like I would want to take 000. 000 is 2 giant totes, and I'm not.
Yeah, they usually do like a convoy.
Yeah, because I drove to California. This year is weird for us because the girls will be off, so they're probably gonna fly out early and just stay with the Paralysis or something if the Paralysis let them. Which I don't know why they wouldn't. Because airfare, if they go a day earlier and leave a day late, it saves me like $600 on airfare. Just
per ticket or total?
Total, but still $600 is because of the holiday.
A lot of souvenirs right there.
Yeah, I'm like about up to here. Like I gotta find more room because I'm starting the interior of the Falcon, and that gets rid of all my displays in that room. So then I'm kind of like, then I'm stuck. So I'm trying to get it done so Matt can film in there, but I don't know if I'll get it done in time. So.
You got what?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's Monday. I barely built a doorway, and I'm going to try to build this round doorway. So this could go horribly wrong. I was doing all the math, and I have all these little diagrams and pictures, but I have no clue how to create it. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening. I can barely hang square drywall, let alone round drywall.
Why don't you just build a volume instead? It'd be easier.
Yeah, just high def. I'll just put high def screens all the way around.
Yeah.
It's only $250,000?
Yeah,
sure.
Just
I got that.
take out a home
That's
equity
podcast money. That's podcast money right there.
Oh man, yeah. I tell you what, I never want to run the numbers of what the podcast cost me, because I host Zoe's on SoundCloud. You use Anchor?
We use Anchor for ours.
Yeah. So I want to move it over to Anchor, but I just haven't. I moved CreatorCast over to Anchor, but I just haven't made that step to move it over. Just because SoundCloud has been so good, for 7 years.
Yeah.
But that and equipment, like I got a Zoom recorder, which is really nice for when she does remote stuff. But it just sunk in a lot of cash. I think she got an iPad out of it from Wired Magazine. She got an iPad from Wired Magazine. She got an invite.
Wow.
That was her. That was when they first started.
But it's all for the love of Star Wars. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's the fun of just talking Star Wars. Sometimes it's just what gets you through the week. You have a bad week. Well, and we all got costumes to build. Like, do you have your helmet there? Can you hold your helmet up, John? That one you showed me the picture of, or is it nearby? Not nearby.
It's not nearby. However, I gotta step off screen for a minute anyway, so I can run and grab it real quick.
Yeah, grab it. He had a nice helmet. So, and Ken, Ken, did you? The Mando Mercs don't have a. We just had our election. So
yeah, we just the leadership elections happened, I think, in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the 501st is a Jersey guy, so he's one of your Jersey fellows.
Yeah. Oh, maybe January. I can't remember which.
Yeah, ours just finished like last night, I think, or the night before. And so
the last few months or so, I've had a whole lot of stuff going on and distracted me from that. it was too much. There was just. I mean, I just recently had surgery on my arm, and
Oh yeah, I remember. How's that? You
it's
still wear a costume.
I still don't have the ability to fully extend it or rotate it,
Mm.
but it's I'm recovering.
That's good.
So
yeah,
and
well,
I can get my costume on, so that's that.
well, that's good. That's what counts. I mean, you know. But yeah, after seeing Mando again, I forgot how much I love that costume. I like Fett. I'm working on the Fett costume. Like I just have to finish the helmet. I got the armor done.
Now with the Fett, which version of the Fett are you going to go with?
See, that's what I liked the one where he had it repainted when they picked up Fennec Shand and when they picked up the guy from the prison planet.
Okay.
I did a version of that. But they've changed it so many times. I'm like, oh man, which one do I want to do? You know, but I like that kind of look. Like I'd love to do the Empire one, but I'd have to lose like 30 pounds, I think, to really pull it off. I mean, I know I don't have to, but you know,
you might have to grow like 4 inches too, because I think Jeremy Bullock is a little bit taller than you are.
I'm 5'10", so I don't know how tall he is.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, I didn't realize you were that tall.
Yeah, well. I'm old. I think you lose. I probably lost like a half inch from a car accident. So I think my one leg's like a half inch shorter or something like that. But yeah, I just got to get. I'm just trying to get all my little stuff done before weather breaks, and work on. I want to redo. I still am working on Safi's C-3PO, and I think I got the paint straightened out, but I don't want to waste it. It was way more money than anyone should ever pay for paint, and I don't want to waste it until it's warm enough. I know it has a fighting chance. So,
and you use
I'll have to airbrush it. Well,
airbrush.
I'll use it the way it works, I have to do a silver coat first, and then I have to put this gold glaze on it. So, and I got to make the costume. So I think I'm going to make her C-3PO out of fiberglass, so I can make it a little lighter. And I got fixed. 000 has a lot of miles. 000 has like some we went to Steel City in December, and a kid backed into her and broke an arm piston off. So I got to do some work on that too. And I still have one more Sabine to finish, which I got to finish that before the live action because I'll have to do that one too.
Now, considering that you mentioned, Book of Boba Fett and everything, were there any other characters from the show that you thought would make great costumes?
Well, the Tuskens. Right off the bat, the Tuskens, and then I liked oh man, my name, I just forgot his name. Cad Bane. I liked Cad Bane. I like that costume. Like I never liked I like the animated character. I like the character, and I know guys that have done the costume, but I always thought the hat was just a little too big for real life. So a lot of the Cad Banes that people I know have made Cad Banes, they almost look like a bobblehead because they have the mask and the hat proportional, and it's not really. If you did it proportional to your body, you'd be like 10 feet tall. Did you bring that mask? Can you bring that?
Yep.
And this is your custom, Mando?
Yes.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, I just got this of filler primer on it.
Oh, very cool. Good old filler primer.
Yeah, and I tried wet sanding for the first time, and that worked a treat.
Because what that does is it takes that primer and it liquefies it and makes it almost like a putty, and then it fills in, and then that wet sanding. Because I used to do cars that way, and you could really like cheat by wet sanding.
Yeah, I was shocked because like there were some spots there that I was like, great, I'm gonna have to go over this 2 or 3 more times, and it's like, oh, I guess one more round of glazing and spot putty. It's really all it needs.
Well, Ken, were you working on a guard? Were you working on like a royal guard? Is that the one you have done?
No, the costume that I have is it looks like Beskar armor, so it's just silver with black soft parts.
Yeah, that's what I thought because I think I'd seen pictures, but I remember when I met you, you were working on the back detail of a helmet. You had like a pattern. Is that the same one?
Same one, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and what's funny about it is so I'd been working on that costume since before The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And my idea was to have this regal, just intimidating looking character, just to stand there and serve as a guard. And then when The Force Awakens came out and we saw Phasma, I thought, that's a beautiful look. I mean, just black and silver, plain, simple, regal, intimidating. So I wanted my costume to look like that. And then the Mandalorian comes out and they give him a Beskar armor. Like, so now people are thinking that I copied that when in fact I had this.
I was there when you were working on it, so I remember.
Yeah, so I've had it in the works for a while.
Yeah, just show them the receipts. Be like, look, this was well before the Mandalorian came out.
Well, it's funny because I joined the Mandalorian Mercs forum, I don't know, maybe 11 years ago or something like that. And I had comments on there. So to your point, yeah, I was simple before it was cool. I was in all Beskar before it was cool.
Well, yeah, excuse me, when I guess it was when the 501st. So the first suit of armor I looked for, Stormtrooper armor, was in 1992 or 93, and it was this newfound what do you call it? Internet was just invented, and I was searching for armor, and you would go on these pages, and it would be called like Space Trooper armor, and you would fill out a form, and then they would send you a photocopy picture in the mail, real old-timey mail, and you get a picture. And then by the time you got that and you went to the website, it had been closed down because Lucasfilm would go around and knock down all these sites that were selling armor. It's just come a long way when Lucasfilm's like, we don't care. We can't sell armor, so you guys can do it.
Yeah, now there's an 8 to 10 week waiting list for at least for Waltz. I'm still waiting on mine to ship.
Waltz is good though.
Yeah.
I mean, when I joined, there was really only two. There was Studio Creations and I forget the other name, but they were both $700 just for the hard parts. But what made me buy FX armor, it was pre-cut. The other one wasn't. Now the helmet's crazy inaccurate, and the armor is kind of inaccurate. But with the right helmet, the white armor is pretty good. Well, you've worn it.
Yeah, I mean it's comfortable. Little big. The honestly though, like I was more so worried about the like chest looking like horribly unproportional. My biggest thing was you're a bit taller than I am, so there's some gaps in the in the thigh and the shin armor.
Well, I got short, the upper parts of my legs. I don't know if there's something deformed about me, but my top of my legs are just shorter or something. I don't know. Or as I got older, maybe my butt just got bigger and took part of my legs away. But I had to cut those down too. So, but it was, I can't wait. I can't wait till his next shoot. I keep bugging Zoe to get, something written, but that poor kid's working like 26 hours a day. So, and did she message you back?
No, at least not that I saw.
I'll remind her. I'll say, but I know she had a night class last night, and she was on RA duty today. So she takes that stuff pretty seriously. So it's hard to get a hold of her when she's doing actual stuff. So,
right. Yeah. However, speaking of the next shoot, if my armor is not here by then, I might need to borrow your kit one more time. But I will have the correct boots this time.
Oh, that's okay. I thought that was pretty funny. Well, it's funny because now I have a lot of people asking me about it. And I feel like, where were you then? Like this is what always happens. I think I got a couple people angry at me too.
Is he just doing pickups? He's doing
pickups, so I don't know what that means. I love Matt to death, but he doesn't work with urgency. Like I was like, I'm glad that other cameraman was there, or we'd be doing like 3 days worth of pickup shots. Because he just works at his own pace. So
yeah,
but that's the first time I've ever been on a film set like that, and it was pretty fun, pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was hoping Zoe was there because like when Zoe, she worked on a film set with a friend of ours, Jake, and they promoted her to like second director like the first day because she kept them on track. Like she would tell the writer / director of the movie what he was doing wrong. I don't think she realized. She's like, no, you just shot, and then he would fix it. So we needed someone like that on that day to like, look, we got to get these shots, because I think we could have got more shots, but that's just me. I just like I don't like to burn daylight. I just know how hard it is to get guys together. And hopefully Zoe will be able to come. And then they're going to do interior shots, either my house or Marty's house for the Falcon.
Now, are you going to be throwing a green screen for that? I'm assuming, or are you going to try and get the interior
we're going to
done?
do a green screen. He's going to do a green screen because it's the interior of the cockpit. But according to Matt, the guy who's doing his special effects bought a graphics pack from Lucasfilm. I guess because Lucasfilm is always, selling to help people learn. And according to this guy, he has all the graphics and they can superimpose them with minimal green screen. So you have to trust your graphic guy, It's come a long way. I mean, just in the last couple of years of what you can do on your phone, and you can put a background on this without even green screen anymore,
right.
with your so.
And I think Kevin agrees with you, Mike, that Zoe's a great assistant.
Oh, okay, cool.
See, I read PA as Pennsylvania, and I was confused for a second. And I'm PA, personal assistant. Duh.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, I'll tell her. Yeah, Zoe, I as a father, I know I probably care more about, you rose-colored glasses watching for your kid, but she's always surprised me because she's always liked Star Wars. I wish she would have started a podcast when she was about 5 or 6. I was like, hey, you should start a Star Wars podcast, and she didn't want anything to do with it. But she was like 7 or 8 when the Clone Wars came out, and her and I talk about this a lot. A lot of these people hated the Clone Wars, and Zoe would win arguments with these people. 2 things. It was funny. It was funny because she would win. But secondly, I used to always think, why is an adult picking an argument with an 8-year-old? But, but it's weird because like her and I have loved Clone Wars. Like we saw it multiple times in the theater. We've always loved Ahsoka, even when they called her Snips and all that kind of stuff. And now it's like this, everyone loves her, and they, and it's just funny because we're like, yeah, we remember when you really didn't love her. But my favorite Clone Wars episode is actually the first episode with Yoda. The non-movie one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one where he was personalizing all the clones.
Yeah, because
humanizing them.
I said to Zoe, she was little. I used to pre-watch them in case they were scary. Because she was like 8. I was trying to be a good parent. But I remember watching that, and I was thinking him personalizing the clones, but also the ending, which was a triumphant end. It was also the Emperor won because they just established a base that you knew was instantly going to take over as soon as Order 66 hit. So Yoda just put the first pin in the Emperor's map, more or less, in a peaceful planet that would have probably maybe not been under the Empire. So I just love that.
See, I think that's one of the struggles I think there is with the Clone Wars. So you have people like us who kind of know where it ended at that point, with Return of the Jedi and all of that. However, the kids who were just being introduced to this world, they had none of that.
Right.
Or at least they didn't have it yet.
You kids, John, it's all, you're
I know.
spoiled.
I was 10 years old when the Clone Wars came out, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, when did it the show was the movie was 2008. Was the show 2009?
No, the show came out I think a couple weeks after the movie.
Yeah, because the movie originally was meant to be the first few episodes.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is because they were doing, I guess, the dailies or whatever when they were making it, George liked it so much that he thought it would look great on the big screen. And so they took like the first 3 or 4 episodes and smooshed them into that movie. And not everybody liked it. It was not a fan favorite when it came out.
Yeah. I loved it. Like I said, we saw it at least 6 times because it's the first Star Wars movie I went to multiple times, mainly because the kids wanted to see it. I was like, sure, I'll go.
See, I got you beat there. I saw Revenge of the Sith multiple times in the theater.
Nice. Yeah, see, honestly, until then, until my kids were interested, if I would have asked my grandfather in '77 to go see Star Wars again, he would have looked at me like I had two heads. Like it's so neat to hear these people that went multiple times in '77. Where when I grew up, you saw a movie, that was it. You know, you soak it in. You're not going back. You paid your money. You know.
You got
Shouldn't
two
have
eyes.
gone to
You
the
saw
bathroom.
Huh?
What did you say, John?
I was going to say, you got two eyes. You saw it.
Yeah.
What do you need to see it again for?
Oh yeah, my grandfather was like, I mean, he was a good guy, you know. But if I would even, it never even crossed my mind personally to go see it. I think the first movie I saw more than once in a theater was the Michael Keaton Batman. That's the first time I ever went to a movie twice. So because I was still in that mindset. It's weird what you get entrenched in your DNA at a young age. That's why, like, I took cosplay out of my name. I put it in there for an article they wrote on us at Millersville, but I took it out of my TikTok name because I hate that word. I hate the word cosplay. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either, to be truthful with you.
I mean, I love Justin as a Stormtrooper, so I guess I love cosplaying. That word, I feel like I should be like an emotionally unattached teenager when I hear that word. It's just
I feel like cosplay has gone. It's strayed from just costuming to now it's more mainstream, where people like closet cosplay. That there are things like that. I feel like costuming for what we do, costuming is a more accurate description.
Yeah,
because I feel like cosplay is you know, it can be anything where you can dress up. You can dress up as anything you want. Inaccurate, accurate, however you want. That's cosplay. But when you start to get like, I know the three of us were real picky about, you know, well, this detail's got to be in the right place. I feel like that's when you start to go.
These seams are too far apart.
Yeah,
I have to take it apart and put it back together again with closer seams.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's when you leave this imaginary realm of cosplay and more into like costuming. When you start to nitpick of, okay, I can see one layer line there. All right, got to redo the whole helmet.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why personally that's why I don't really say I'm a cosplayer. I'm more of a costumer.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just a word. It was a weird word when it first came out. There used to be what was the show? There was a cosplay competition show, like a reality competition show. Did you guys ever see that? Heroes of Cosplay?
I heard of it, but I never watched it.
It's not a bad show. I mean, it's like, you know, it was a neat show at its time. Like, I wished it would have stuck. It's funny because there was always one person gluing stuff in their hotel room the night before they had to do something. And I was always yelling, and I'm always that guy. Like, I'm always like, okay, pack the glue gun. We have to, you know, attach Zoe's arm to her Sabine 2 minutes before she's getting ready to walk out. Like, her first Sabine, she hadn't tried it on until she walked out at Steel City. And 000 wasn't fully put together until we got to Chicago, because I had to paint the shorts and drive with smelly spray paint on the way to Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, I always carry an emergency kit with me. It's like, all right, let's pack the super glue, the Gorilla Tape, I guess a couple bottles of paint. Yeah, I'm the same way. I always most of the time it's done, at least 99%. But I'm always like, well, this could fall off. I guess I'll throw this into the kit. Or to
Mike's point, something could break. I mean, the last time I wore, not the last time, but I wore my costume at an event in Wildwood, and so I've got, you know, the Boba Fett rocket on my one gauntlet, and we were walking from one part of the floor to the other in this big long line, and I had my hand out in front of me so that I didn't bump into the person, and they turned around and their backpack got caught on my rocket and broke the front end right off of it.
Oh yeah.
So those kind of accidents happen.
Yeah, my TikTok people. There's people on TikTok. We're on there. I'm just going to say this. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook. It's in my bio. So if you just think I'm some idiot talking to myself, that's what it is. I have this because I was trying to get good sound. So normally I would let open sound run and then people could hear it. But then you get so much distortion on the sound. So I'm trying to at least pretend I'm professional a little bit. Yeah, I carry white and black Gorilla Tape almost everywhere I go. Because in a Stormtrooper, you can fix anything. If you have white tape or black tape, you can cover it, tape it,
Yeah,
and then
it's two colors.
Yeah, I used to wear my mic and I tape it to my face, so I'd carry whatever you call it, that medical tape. When I don't, so the only time if I have to wear my Stormtrooper, usually I'll shave if I'm going to put my mic on, because I hook the mic right in the corner of my mouth. And Safi's, like I said, Safi's is a whole nother kit in and of itself. But yeah, I suited her up, man, and we hadn't fixed her. I hadn't solved if you read Anthony Daniels' book, he talks about how the weight of the C-3PO's feet rested on the top of his ankle or his shin or top of his feet. And I hadn't really solved that problem by Chicago. So she wore it, even though she wore that costume 5 and 6 hours a day, all that weight was on the top of her foot. So to solve it short term, we went to a CVS and bought ankle braces so that would have a heavier thing to sit on. And then when I got home, I rigged some elastic below the knee so it actually hangs off of a belt. So it's funny the things you solve once I'm just like, let me see your leg, and I can see these big gashes in her foot. All right, Daddy will fix it. So
yeah, that was a great recommendation, by the way. Oh,
great
go ahead,
recommendation, and the beauty of the creativity that's involved.
Oh,
because
yeah.
when you see the stuff on screen, you have no true idea of what they had to go through to get that person to be able to perform in that costume. And so you don't get to know all those things until you're in it and wearing it and marching around in it.
Well, and also like with the Stormtroopers, but even with C-3PO and even Chewie, a lot of those shots, they're not wearing the full costume, especially in the older movies. They're wearing like C-3PO. If I try to take stills to make there's a different suit of armor or suit of costume. He's wearing 3 or 4 different suits in the same movie. So you're like, okay, well, which one do I want it to look like the most? Stormtroopers, man, don't even get me started. The Stormtroopers, our armor's better than the Stormtroopers in New Hope. They're held together.
Yeah, Mike, I hate that you got me into that. I hate that you got me into that, into the TK armor world. Because now I watch the movies or I watch like the new TV shows. I'm like, well, I thought it was this, but evidently it's. Yep. And I can nitpick every little thing now where it's like, great, now I can't watch these movies without noticing the costumes and what's wrong and what's right.
Well, I will tell you, my favorite TK is still New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the New Hope TK is my favorite, and my least favorite, if I had to make a least favorite, would be Jedi, Return of the Jedi.
Really?
If you look at Return of the Jedi Stormtroopers and you look at the Ruby's armor that everyone makes fun of, that armor is more accurate than people realize.
I'm more shocked you didn't say Empire. Because
I
can't stand the Empire armor.
I don't like Empire. I don't like the black mouth. I like, and maybe I like New Hope because they're all left-handed, and I'm left-handed. So that could be, but I like the gray. I like the gray mouth. I like that they're, I just like that. Well, Sand Trooper is my favorite by far, of all of them. But New Hope, it's just, it could be. New Hope was the first one I saw, and I saw it with no expectation of there being a sequel at all. Like it just wasn't really done. Like, Ken's not as old as I am. But before that, there was very few real sequels. I mean, yeah, Planet of the Apes probably would be your closest, successful sequels, I guess. Before that, if I can think, and I can't think of any others. Aliens maybe, but Aliens can't really compare them because that was like definitely not for the same demographics.
It was also after.
Yeah, it was after.
So.
I did see the second Alien in theater. The The first one I saw, I think on like HBO or something that my uncle had, and we weren't supposed to watch it or something like that. I think he had like a naked lady or something in it or something. So I saw your Alien toys, Ken.
Yeah, we have bunches of them. My
I
wife is
remember those from the J.C. Penney's catalog and the Sears catalog.
Well, what's funny about it? So Kenner made the Aliens toys, the original ones. And if you want to buy one now, there's a vintage shop down the road from us that they call it Big Chap. In the box, $1,500
That's
for
Biker Scout. That's Biker Scout armor money.
For just an action figure. I mean, let's see if I can do this. Hold on one second. I'll see if I can
unblur.
Yeah, bear with me while I fiddle with this.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, yeah, I can see. Oh, I see him. Yeah, there he is. Nice.
And that's just some of the ones that she has. She has the littler ones. I mean, she has a lot.
You gotta get her a pulse rifle.
It's funny that you say that because Nerf is coming. I thought Nerf was coming out with one, and I have the template for one. I just haven't sat down to make it for her yet.
That was when I sent away for the first Stormtrooper armor in the 90s. They sent me one of those too, because Missy's brother used to own. He had a Tommy gun, and the kit went over a Tommy gun because that's the gun they used in those. So, but I was like 25 and I didn't have enough money for a real Tommy gun. So I did get the Nerf. I have the Nerf Mando rifle, which is awesome.
That came in for you?
Huh?
That finally did arrive?
Yeah, it arrived. It arrived, and the Darksaber arrived the same week.
Okay.
I got these.
Did you get the Razor Crest yet?
I got it. It's not even open. I don't. Again, I'm probably going to sell it because I don't know where to put it. It's. I don't. I honestly, when I redo this room,
I have plenty of room here if you want to. Just
I'm willing to shell out an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah, I just have to, because I have the giant Millennium Falcon, so that when I first bought it, I had the intention of having a spot for the Falcon and having a spot for the Razor Crest. And then as these rooms evolved and I like displaying the armor more, then I'm like, I can't really, like even I was going to get the Boba Fett Nerf blaster because it's 1-to-1 scale. And I was like, I can't buy that because I don't want, where am I going to hang it? You know, so I printed. Thanks to John, the armory place is getting all my money now. So this.
Wow, how heavy is it?
It weighs almost nothing.
Feather light.
Wow.
And this was just my first. This is my rough print. Like I just put it together to see how it looked. I got a seam. Oops. I got a seam right there that I'm not happy with. But that what is that place again? What's it called?
The Galactic Armory.
Armory.
I've got that same EE3.
Yeah.
And
is that the new one or the?
This is the new one because it has
the bits in the back in the and in the stock.
Yeah. And this thing. Whoops.
Yeah. I gotta convince you to print one for me.
Yeah.
My only problem is I've got that same exact gap that you're talking about.
So what I think I got to do for that gap is I'm going to print it again, and then I'm going to run it on a belt sander because I think it bows because of the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to put it on a nice level belt sander and smooth out one and just see how it goes. Because this was the nice thing about these files. These are easy prints. They print. You know, the only thing I do with my blasters, which I know some people hate, I never put my triggers in. Just because if I gloved hand, I've broken more triggers off, so I'm just like, screw it. I'm not putting my triggers in. I printed the Fennec rifle too. The Fennec rifle, now I got that from 3 Demon. I got the Fennec rifle, and that's real because I invited you, I think, Ken, to the premiere of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah. And but I knew I assumed you weren't going to drive from Jersey, but I was going to do the Obi-Wan, but we're going to all be going to Celebration, so I can't do the Obi-Wan. So
yeah, I won't be able to drive to that one either.
No, the May 4th one, I'm still tempted to do one on May the 4th, just to see what's out. Just watch something, but we'll see.
If it wasn't for it being a Wednesday, I'd be right there.
I mean, that's the tough part, but I don't know. I need about 3 hours of sleep. If I get less than 3, then I'm mean to my students. If I get 3 hours, I'm good. Let's see. I don't know. I hope my TikTok people are going over to see us. I don't know. I can't get numbers on. I have the Facebook feed up. It's up, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah. So Ken, I was going to say back to your podcast, Ken. I really like your. There's a few like Zoe's podcast because she's my kid. Like the problem with Zoe's podcast is when I edit it, I try not to listen to it. So unless she tells me, hey, at this many minutes, can you fix this or something? I literally put a bumper on it, and load it up because I like to listen to it when I'm in the car, just like everybody else.
Yep.
And they're pretty good lately about their sound. Years ago, when they would call from Lizzie's house, their internet wherever they live in Anaheim must have been so bad. The levels would drop, so I would have to push it through like Audacity and level it out and all that kind of stuff. But Zoe's gotten better with her speaking, like her podcast voice. But you guys, as soon as yours comes up, that's one of the ones I enjoy. Because I feel like I know Anthony due to your podcast and his social media. I feel like I know him like I know some of the people I meet every day. You know.
Yeah, he definitely has he's more socially active than I am when it comes to Facebook and things like that. I got to get out of my funk and get back into it because for a while, at least related to our podcast, I would post on Thursdays, Demetrius would post on Saturdays, and Anthony would post on Mondays. So we had this nice cycle of having things up on a regular basis. But yeah. I got into a bit of a funk and kind of lost it.
Yeah, well, Zoe's the queen of being organized. Like she puts out polls and writes and this. She has like a schedule. Like she has a calendar that is covered with all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I fall like I've been trying to get with Colin to start our podcast back up. That's what I was saying to John. You almost need a producer because I stay on Zoe and keep her working, but I don't do it to myself. Like I need a producer of my show to say, hey, look, you guys got to record. You know what I mean? Like you almost need that one person to push you. You know?
Well, in the short term, how about the three of us?
Hey, I'm fine with that.
You know, leap back into career because just want to make sure I understand the focus of it. It's really about the costuming aspect of Star Wars.
That's what we try. I mean, except for when we did the Shakespeare,
which was super fun, by the way.
That was fun. That was the closest to improv that I think I'll ever do. Because John, we just took the Shakespeare Star Wars story. You know, the books. We just got a whole bunch of random people. They call it in, and we just read it like it was a play. And we
That's
did it,
fantastic.
We did it the first take. Like we didn't practice it. We were just like, let's just people and Marcus, the guy who he was at my house. He came to my house to do it, and he should be a voice actor because he was doing C-3PO and Obi-Wan, having a conversation with himself in real time, changing his voice. And I'm just standing there watching him. And I could barely read like 2 lines from some Imperial. And he's like, back and forth. So it was pretty fun because I had like a woman from work did Princess Leia. She never listened to a podcast, barely watched her. She's like, yeah, I like that sounds like fun. And she like called in. So, yeah, I just got to get on the ball with that. I got to get, I'm at the point kind of with you. I'm kind of in that winter funk in the sense that I have tons of projects I want to do. My schoolwork's somewhat caught up, but my home, like my podcasts and my projects are just kind of like, I feel like I'm just chipping away little pieces of them, and I got to just like get a schedule and get things going.
Well, it sounds like too, John would be a perfect addition because you've now got him being incredibly nitpicky with screws and seam lines, just like the two of us. So
yeah,
let's make it happen. We could pick 1 or 2 costumes to dissect and talk through.
Well, yeah, that's what I gotta get on that because I have the website and like I said, I put it on Anchor. I got to get back and figure what's up with Anchor because I put it on Anchor and I just haven't touched it. I just got the bill. Like I got the bill for SoundCloud. It's like you're going to be charged $130. I was like, oh crap, I better move this somewhere before they get rid of all my back episodes because Anchor's free, and I hear nothing but good things about it. So. Now iHeartRadio has an app too to run. I don't know.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
I just get a lot of ads for them now because Zoe's on. I constantly are that's one of the reasons I think for my show I need someone to drive the show because in all honesty, if something comes my way that's good, I'm always going to hand it off to my kid. You know what I mean? Like if I get a call and they say, "Hey, would you like to interview so and so?" I always think of my kid first. That's just me. So I need someone to do that for my show, and I'm just the person that shows up and does what they tell me, if that makes sense. But yeah, the costuming thing, and just for some people that are listening, we're not picky in the way that I can speak just from knowing you guys, and I speak for a lot of people I know. We're not picky in the sense if someone shows up in a stormtrooper costume that is wrong, we are not going to pick it apart. But if that person comes to us and says, "Hey, I love my stormtrooper suit, but how can I make it better?" we will gladly help that person. I think that's where some people get mistaken by us being picky. Am I correct in saying?
Oh, I think you nailed it
100%.
perfectly. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about real early on related to the podcast. We have the positive leaning. So we would much rather help someone than tear them apart and let them know all the ways from Sunday that they stink or their costume is wrong.
Right, and that's what I think sometimes some of the groups, and there are, I'm not going to lie, there are people in the group that are that way. But I think sometimes groups get broad brushed that way. And they're like, and I always tell people, overall, it's not that much more expensive to build it right than to build it wrong. Like if you buy a Ruby's Stormtrooper set, if you buy it straight out, it's going to cost you more than Walt's. If you bought it from like a costume place, and then the amount of work to put it on,
Yeah, and like the one thing that I always look at least personally, my Din Djarin is horribly inaccurate.
I love your Din Djarin, so I don't want to hear that nonsense talk.
Look, the chest plate's too big. I've got the wrong thigh plate. I haven't invested in the boots yet. And it's from the neck down, all the armor is the wrong color. And it was the first costume that I really started to put together with 3D printing. So there are seam lines and there's layer lines in there. But like at the end of the day, it's like I know my costume's not accurate. I would never go out of my way to be like, you're this one screw is in the wrong place by 2 millimeters.
Right.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, I don't care. You could have something that's entirely, it's supposed to be blue, but you made it green. As long as you're having a good time, as long as you're having fun with it, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Well, I'd even go one step further with that. Not only is it important for you to have fun, but I'm going to guess that you're the kind of costumer who also likes to encourage other people to have fun. So that's why I go to the conventions and put on my Mandalorian costume and walk around for 6 or 7 hours with like a sweaty mess. And when a kid runs up to me and says, "Hey, Mando," I know I'm not Mando. I'm not the Mando. But I'll stand for 20 minutes so this kid gets a picture with Mando because that's what he wants or she wants.
Yeah,
we were swamped at Steel City. How about it?
Yeah, I'm just to kind of bridge on that. We took so many pictures at Steel City Con this last time, but my favorite picture, it's a blurry picture that Mike took just real quick while I was sitting there talking to this kid with a Grogu hat on. It's my favorite picture of the entire time because it's my absolute favorite thing is when a kid recognizes you and then is like they're all weighted with you being in their presence. That's my absolute favorite thing about costuming.
It's also his worst picture because Mike took a blurry picture. He's like, "Damn you!"
Yeah,
No,
Mike got it one shot too quick before I was actually down my knee, so it just kind of looks like I'm awkwardly crouching.
Well, that was one of the craziest Steel City cons we ever went to, because we had Chewie, Mando, 000, and I look back and I'm taking all these pictures, and I turn around and there's a Boba Fett with us. This kid doing a Boba Fett from, I think he was from Georgia or something, was up for college. I don't even know his name. And
There.
he just
I did catch his name.
Well, yeah, I actually wound up as a thank you. I printed up the new Boba Fett pistol, and I sent him a kit. I was like, here, man, because I was like, here, just for having a good time. I just mailed him a kit, as a thank you. But it was so cool, because I'm like, wow, we picked up people, and we were just, and there was, other than Marty, who's in the Rebel Legion with his Chewie, no one was in a costuming group. It was just 4 costumers and me walking around taking pictures. And we couldn't go a couple feet. It was like
not even. We would stand in one spot for 20 or 30 minutes just taking pictures, because everyone was just harping at us like, "Hey, can we get a picture with you? Can we get a picture with you?" It's the best time.
Yeah, and I love Steel City. I would say second to Celebration, and Sappy likes Steel City better than Celebration.
Well, because Sappy gets swamped every time you guys go to Celebration.
Yeah, but she, her first Celebration, she was Ketsu. So, but Steel, I just like Steel City because I like for me, I like Celebration better, but I like Steel City because you're kind of trapped in convention mode, because there's nothing to do there.
Well, we did walk around the mall for a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's a sorry mall, man. That is one sorry mall.
So what's your favorite time being in a costume, Mike? John just mentioned one of his. What's one of yours? I think Kevin likes our costuming stories.
Yeah, I've been doing this since 2007, right? So I have to preface this just as another funny story to go along with the girls changing their name. When Phantom Menace came out, I got the tickets back in the old days. I had to go get them the day before from work. I worked at a Chevy dealer at the time. I went home and I said, Missy, hey, we're going to... And she's like, oh, I'm going to do my hair like Princess Leia for the premiere. And I said to her, and I'm so embarrassed of these words, don't do that. I don't want them to think we're one of those weirdos that dress up. That's just been fast forward to 2007, and I'm taking pictures of me and my stormtrooper. But I think my favorite time, and I can't pinpoint the one time, but there's a lot of times, especially when my girls were little, when they were Jawas, and when the first, when they were Jawas and I was a stormtrooper, there was something about that was just like magical. My wife had to do the hard work and corral them, because they were like, Sappy was like 3 or 4, and Zoe was like 5 or 6 when they started. But the first time they did Sabine and the Tusken, the first time they wore them and I was a stormtrooper, it just felt like a big family affair. Like, that's some of my favorite times. All kinds of stuff. The one reason when I started to try to lose weight and I got a little healthier was, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but we had a stormtrooper that was a little larger, and we were all trooping this event. Missy went up and talked to him, thought it was me. And I was like, oh shit, I got to lose some weight, So, but yeah, when there's C-3PO there, when Dan is there and Marty's there, I try to position myself as a stormtrooper so I can watch people interact with them, because I love that. I love it when I hand my kid a blaster, and they're like, their parents are like freaking out that they get to hold a blaster, or let them point it at me or something like that. I've had people hand me babies, which is really dangerous. I don't recommend anyone handing it to a kid, because you can't see. I could be holding the kid by their head for all I know. But I've had people hand me their babies to get pictures taken with and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't gone that far, but we were at one event and this kid had been calling me Mando the whole day, and at one point came up and was talking with me and my wife. I was still, in costume, and we said, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I can't find my mom." So he was lost, and he stayed with us for probably 10 minutes.
He
and
was
then
your
we walked
Grogu.
around trying to find.
Yeah, he was your foundling.
Yeah, he's our friend. And Heather helped him find his mom, and then later on, he came back to the table, and the mom showed up a little later. Said, "We have to go. You've spent enough time with the Star Wars people." But I mean, he came over to us, lost, couldn't find his parents, couldn't find his mom, and stuck around with us.
Now you need to get a crest on your shoulder, like make up your own crest, like the mud horn, right? And then have you ever seen guys when they get their own coins made?
Oh, the challenge coins, yeah.
Get a challenge coin in the shape of your crest, and then you can hand that to a little kid, and give yourself a foundling or something like that. It's only like $8 a coin.
Only.
Dude, it's just remarkable. Like I've had this discussion with until The Force Awakens, most of the people I worked with just thought I was insane, because I would talk about it, and they didn't believe it. And then when right around The Force Awakens came, we did a library event at our school where I teach, and my boss and some of the big wigs came through the whole district, and they were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe how wonderful it was, and they couldn't believe it was free, and it was and it changed how people perceive me. I'm probably still not thought of as totally sane, but at least less insane. But I was trying to explain to my one boss, like I teach in Northern Maryland, and some of the kids, not all, but I have students who have never left the town that they were born in. And I have students that going to a movie might be a once in every 2 years event, just due to economic standards or whatever's going on. And it is so nice when we can present, these kids can see as good, if not better, costumes that they would see at Disney in their backyard,
Well, now with the way that the technology is and the access to the materials, I mean, you can make that, like you said, it doesn't matter where you are. You can make it in your garage, and it can be just as good as the stuff that shows up on television. And what I think is cool about it from a personal standpoint is when you're done with it, you can step back and say, yeah, I did that. I made that thing.
Yep.
I had this idea in my head, I put it onto paper, and then now here it is in physical manifestation. And I get to share it with people who can have as much fun looking at it as I had in making it.
Yeah. Well, the tools are so much better. I mean, it used to be you just hoped someone might have had a vacuum table or something like that. Now with 3D printing and everything, you can go nuts.
Yeah,
it still takes skill.
I'm grateful that I started seriously costuming at the time that I did, because 3D printing was starting to become more easily accessible. So I was able to I would have been 19, so it would have been 3 years ago. I used my tax return, bought my first 3D printer, and now I've got 4 3D printers that I can use to make these full costumes, and it's a lot easier than like Mike when you started.
Yeah. Well, I still, not to sound like too much of an old timey guy, but there is something to be said. Like the 3D printing used as a tool is awesome. The 3D printing used as end all to costuming, I think a lot of those people are selling themselves short, because the 3D printing stuff is hard, and I think some people, like if they go into even using the sheets of, it's called Warbler, I think is Warbler the but I used 3mm expanded PVC. If you call it that online, it's like half the price. But there is something. There's the people that can do really nice 3D printing can do really nice stuff with that. Like I said, Zoe's costume. That costume is whenever Rebels came out. That's how old that costume is, and that costume has seen a lot of miles. And I only had to repaint one part because she always carried her helmet right here, and it scratched her armor. So. But I always paint the armor I always paint it silver underneath, so if it scratches, it just looks like leathering. So,
yeah, and my Mando Merc's armor, it's a mix of both, the expanded PVC and 3D printing, because there was for my helmet, I wanted a very specific look to my helmet, but for the chest armor, I was like, okay, I kind of want that the Boba Jango style chest armor. Same with my shoulder armor. It's like, okay, I want the Boba Jango look, but I want the Mythosaur skull on one of them, and I want a trauma plate on there. So that was like, okay, that's something I should probably 3D print, so that way it's accurate. It's got that right texture to it.
Well, 3D printing has helped in a lot of other ways. It has helped price-wise. Because when I started, if you were a costumer, you were pretty much at the mercy of who made stuff. Like if you wanted a helmet, unless you wanted to hand sculpt it yourself, you had a handful of people you could buy from. And now that's brought all those prices down.
Looks like we got a comment here. How do you all feel about this idea? I would like to print the 2003 Clone Wars armor, specifically Fordo.
Oh, I know him from TikTok. Yeah, if I think it's the file. I think it comes down to the file.
Yeah, if you can find the file for it, I mean, I personally, I'm still, I like the realistic, but my second would be I always forget his name, but the micro series Clone Wars armor. I like that, the look of that armor.
Yeah.
And then the Clone Wars is my third favorite, but that's just because I'm weird about the lines in it.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. Mine go probably the exact opposite. But I like them all. I mean, it could be. I know a couple people with the realistic armor, and talk about something that looks super painful to wear. That stuff is, and the helmet has to have like a hinge on it so it locks on your face and stuff. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's really funny about it when people talk about making the Clone Wars armor or Clone Trooper armor. If you look at the movies, the armor didn't exist.
Right.
Because they used digital technology to create all of the clones.
Well, and that's why we have a guy around here that has the armor, and he can only stay in that armor for a short amount of time. Now I know guys have made realistic Rex and stuff, and you can trim it back because you can hide it with some of the stuff, like the packs and stuff. But the guys that wear that realistic armor, unless you have to be a specific body type, you almost have to be too thin and too tall for your own good for it to fit perfectly. And those guys, they suffer. Like when we do events, they're usually in armor for like an hour, and then they're out because it's not pleasant. Like they can't walk. They can't, the stormtroopers are like, probably the only hardest other one will be C-3PO or 000.
Yeah, like I've got the Hot Toys Captain Rex, and just like, I mean, this is obviously apples to Card Wars here, but it's even difficult to pose that figure just because of how the armor is shaped. I can only imagine wearing it for an extended period of time.
Well, that's where a lot of the guys will do Rex or any of the commanders in the animated, because you can cut the diaper back because you have the camera. The diaper on even the animated is, it's uncomfortable. I mean, when guys size it to themselves, it's still uncomfortable, even if it's perfectly fit. But again, I say this with all costume people: you do the armor you want to do.
Yep, 100%.
And I say the only caveat I say is, if you are doing an obscure character, have thick enough skin to be called all sorts of names. I mean, Revan is very popular with a certain select group of Star Wars fans, but when The Force Awakens came out, all of our Revans started getting called Kylo. And
yeah, well, so at that event that I was talking about in Wildwood, there was a TIE pilot. I can't even count the number of people that would walk by and say, "Hey, everybody, look, it's Vader."
Oh yeah. Well, we live in that Star Wars bubble. I mean, probably all of us. Well, I know John does because of all his DVDs, but all of us have more Star Wars in our house than probably whole blocks of houses.
Hey, it's not just the DVDs. I got a whole other collection too.
You have a giant.
He has 2 Matchbox cars.
He also has the movie Han Solo cockpit from the Solo movie. That was at the movie theater.
What? Say that out loud again.
You remember the big cardboard cutout that was the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon? He has that.
Wow, that's cool. Where do you fit it?
If he lived closer, I would have to rob his house.
Trust me, it took us 3 hours into the basement. I don't think you're getting it out in any robbable time.
I feel really bad for you. I have a giant Burger King Darth Vader that was on top of Burger King's, the big giant inflatable one. I have that one.
How did you even come across that?
one of the droid builders, I was looking for one for Safi's graduation, just as a, I don't know what popped in my head. I thought, that'd be funny if I could get that giant Darth Vader. And I said it to this guy, and he's like, I have 2 of those. Would you want one? And we worked out a trade, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. And I have a little Scion. The box took up, because it wasn't packed well, took up the whole back of my Scion just to get it home. And I packed it up a little better. But it's pretty cool. But it's not a like you inflate it and close it like a balloon. It doesn't have like it's like a big balloon, and it holds air. So we just put it, and then we put congratulations Safi for graduating. She's more of the dark side than Zoe.
Naturally, I mean, Zero kind of gave that one away. You don't dress up as a murder droid and then go run around with the Jedi.
Right.
Although I think 000 talks a lot more.
He does.
Than Safi does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Safi is pretty quiet. She when Safi talks, you listen because it's usually fairly important.
And you have to listen close because she doesn't talk very loudly either.
No. Yeah. Neither of my kids are overly loud. But my wife and I are not. I mean, I tend to talk when I'm in a certain group with certain things I like. I talk a lot, probably too much. But overall, I'm relatively quiet as well. So, but
I think we're also at a place now when it comes to costuming that as long as we like it and are confident in it, it doesn't have to be approved by any formal group. We don't have to go that route. We can just build it because we want to and wear it when we want to.
Yep.
And that's fine. So
yeah. To add on to that, I love the groups, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm against. I love the groups, but if the groups don't change with the times a little bit, they can become obsolete. That was a weird sound. Did you hear that?
Oh, sorry, that was my phone. I apologize.
Oh, okay, I was like, what? Well, yeah. I mean, I forgot to tell you guys when we started this, we can invite up to I think 10 people on this thing. So if you want to invite people, you let me know. And there's another way where once I know this is like a test for this whole thing, but when we do this, there's a way that I can give you a feed and it will feed to whatever your feeds are too. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm just happy that I got a rainbow background with our 3 pictures showing up in our, I got to remember to move the forces behind because it's showing up in the text box. It's covering the text, but
going back to your point about the groups, I mean, I'd love the groups. I mean, I'm an official member. I went through probably 4 or 5 different application submissions before I finally got approved. And I'll tell you honestly, and I don't mean to point at any one particular person, it was an annoying process. It was frustrating. I mean, the time before my last submission, I actually told my wife, I said, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? If I want to wear it, I'll wear it. But she said, you've put in all this time, you put in all this effort, you know the benefits of being in the group. Just do it one more time. Reach out to some people for some help. And it worked. And I got approved. And I'm very, very happy that I went that route to get approved by that formal group. I'm just saying, in response to the comment about, the art style being a little bit different. If you want to make that costume, enjoy that costume.
Well, and the other thing is a lot of the costuming groups are always looking for new CRLs. So if you make an animated clone that they don't have a CRL for, costuming reference library, like the 501st, I think has the most. Rebel Legion has a lot. A lot of times, if you have a costume that's really good and you take pictures, you can submit it to them and say, "Hey, look, I think this should be a CRL." So it's I'm with you on that, Ken, because I've had this discussion with some of the 501st people, and I said, and we've had it happen in our group. Some of the other groups haven't had it happen and stuff, but we've had occasionally where we've had people in charge of approving, and they almost are looking for something wrong. And I'm a believer in you should look for what's right and help the person. You don't want someone to approve with a wrong costume. But we have literally had one guy that someone had their hand plates on wrong, which you could know would be an easy fix by just telling him to turn them around. They made him submit new pictures. Like, to me, that's someone who just doesn't understand. Hey, Saf. There's Safi dressed as a dog. This is what I. This is.
Do you
what
want a
I-
treat, Safi? Give Safi a treat.
Yeah, Safi's gonna give me some iced tea.
Good to see you. Were your ears burning? Because we were just talking about
We
you.
were just talking about you, Safi, in 000. Yeah. So, yeah, they
What do you want?
I would like some iced tea.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, that's where I think the costuming groups have to be careful. It's nice to be exclusive, but it's also nice to treat people well. Let me see
The new Boba Blaster.
that's my Boba Fett blaster. As soon as I got it done, the Imperial Army, what's it again? I always
Galactic
forget.
Galactic
Armor.
Galactic Army came out with a better file where it breaks open and you can actually load it. This is not a commercial for them, but the nice thing about their 3D files, how many updates do you get? Every time they fix the file, they send you the update. So that's nice.
Well, if John would give me one of his 4 3D printers, maybe I'd get some of those things.
Oh, look, I gotta fix
Well-
2 of them still.
I have 2 more on the way. I'm just waiting for some payment for some commissions, and I'll have 2. I'm probably going to buy 2 350 millimeter printers, so I can print a full helmet well within the 85%. Because no matter how big your printer is, the best print zone is 85% of the maximum print area. So a 300 millimeter printer, you can print a full helmet, but you're running it right to the edges. And I've had good luck with running that, but the Soval is 350 millimeter, and I think it's like a $400 printer. So, and it has a lot of extra stuff on it. Thank you, Pug girl. Don't get dog pug stuff on my teeth. I live in an insane house. I'm just putting that out there. Safi, we're testing this is not TikTok. That's TikTok. I'm ignoring TikTok puts so much stuff on the screen now, you can't even look, they're like, check this out, check that out. So.
Yeah, I haven't stepped into that realm yet. I thought I was cool when I had a podcast.
Yeah, I enjoy TikTok way more than a 50-some-year-old guy should enjoy TikTok.
I don't think you should ever say that again.
And it bothers the crap out of my students that I have more followers than them. So.
What are you up to now?
I only have 155,000, I think. I lost about 1,500 in the last couple weeks because I haven't posted anything up.
Do they dissolve after like the?
No, see, a bunch of mine. Actually, I think a bunch of mine were bots or something. Like about 600 of them were bots because I went back looking at who I was following and they didn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
But that's how I met John. I wouldn't have met John. I mean, the Star Wars. So the big thing on all social media is people talking about the toxicity of Star Wars fans. And my only argument with that is, if there's a toxic Star Wars fan, I'm not 100% sure they're a true Star Wars fan. They might be someone that likes Star Wars movies, but if you're, to me, a fan is a fan. And I think you guys talked to one of the podcasts I was doing. If you're a fan, you're a fanatic. And you have to look at it deeper than just, like, my wife likes Star Wars. She's not, I wouldn't categorize her as a fan. She's someone who likes Star Wars. My kids and I are fans, that's just me. And
so she tolerates it, is what you're saying. She tolerates Star Wars.
Missy is she's like maybe she's a closet fan because she knows a lot because she's been around. Like I don't know, when I first started trooping and we did a 4-hour troop in 15-degree weather with 19-mile-an-hour winds. And my wife, who is very shy, we're on national television, and the only person you can see their face is her because she's walking along with the kids. And she did that over all these years and watched the Jawas. You know what I'm saying? As much, and she never complained. Because it was family time. Like I can't even. I've probably forgotten more troops than I remember just because we were doing it every week as a family. And there's not much you can do with two teenage daughters that worked us all the way up through it until now and keep going. You know, I never had those bad years with my kids that they didn't want to do stuff with. And I thank the 501st and I thank Star Wars and all that for it.
So you're saying she's either a fan supporter or fan adjacent?
Yeah, I mean, it just, see, yeah, she knows a lot about Star Wars, and she's like, there's probably things she doesn't like, but she loved watching The Mandalorian, and she liked watching Boba Fett with us. You know, she likes Marvel. I proposed to her with a comic Spider-Man comic book, so she didn't think she was marrying anyone but me. I was a Dungeons and Dragons, Star Wars loving comic book nerd, so she knew what she was getting. So, but I was going to say something fairly important, and now my brain. Oh, yeah, so my thing with the fans, and so you guys are the perfect people to ask. So when do the people who haven't seen any? So right now, because of the way Star Wars is working, and Filoni has his hands in it, and Favreau has his hands in it. When is it? When are you? I don't want to say true fan because I don't want to be one of those gatekeepers, but like when are you left behind because you haven't watched all the animated shows? You know, like because everything is so intertwined. Like, not that you have to watch them, but that's such a big part of the lore now.
Well, I agree with you that it's a big part of the lore. And I think because there is so much Star Wars, you now have more of a chance to kind of claim an area. So if you say, I'm just going to stick to the movies, the live action movies, not even talk about the animated movies or the made for television movies that were premiered in Europe. You know, I'm talking specifically about the Ewok movies.
I love those.
That are now on Disney Plus, that I never imagined that they would be available to us like that. So there are people who just like the movies. Okay, fine. There are people who just like the High Republic books. That's fine. And I think they're just as much of a fan as someone who consumes all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would encourage is that the folks who are selective are at least kind enough and open-minded enough to interact with the people who are also selective to find out what they've been missing out on. Because there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on right now in the comic books that not everybody's aware of.
I can't keep it. My wallet can't keep up with the comic books.
Yeah, or even the High Republic. There's a whole lot of, I mean, they have many books, many comics related to the High Republic. But I don't think you're any more of a fan or less of a fan if you are selective in what you consume, because there's just so much of it to consume.
So maybe my question has to be reworded. Is it Lucasfilms? Do they have to be careful that they don't make one type necessary to watch? Like, do they have to be careful that, like, if I watch Mando season 3, but I didn't read book X, Y, or Z, that Mando still makes sense to me?
I think they have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of that just because of what we're talking about.
See, personally, I don't think that. I think there's a fine line that you have to straddle, because you've got fans like, I mean, me personally, Mike knows this. I can't read a book to save my life. The fact that I have listened to most of the Anthony Daniels and Carrie Fisher books is baffling to me. And I don't think it's so important, because if you've got people like us who are like serious hardcore fans that don't consume everything, there's YouTube and other medias like podcasts that you can go to. It's like, hey, here's what you missed in Mando season 3 episode 2, 15 Easter eggs you didn't understand. So I feel like there are definitely fan created workarounds that Lucasfilm can use to their advantage to intertwine these stories.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself above average fan, and honestly, the comic books, I love comic books, but I don't know if it's an age thing or a time thing. I was going to my local comic book store and picking up hundreds of dollars of comic books a week, I mean a month. Like, there for a while, it was like $60 or more. Just they had so many titles coming out, and then I'd realized when I went to pick the next month up, I hadn't read half of the ones that I just picked up the previous month before.
Yep.
And so I wound up, not getting most of the comic books. Now I read the anything with 000 and stuff like that, but it just I mean, I don't want to ever complain that there's too much Star Wars, because I was there in the dark times when we thought we were getting nothing. So, I remember Bendems. You guys remember Bendems?
Oh, of course.
I remember seeing my first Bendem, and I was like, "Is Star Wars coming back?" Because that was in the '90s. I saw a Bendem R2D2. I was like,
Was it the 90s? I thought it was even earlier than that. I thought it was like the late 80s, like 86, 87, I thought. Maybe I could be wrong.
The Bendems I saw, they could have been, but it was like right before the bulky, muscle-bound
the Power of the Force figures.
Power of the Force came out. The second, not the power, not the that's when I saw them we had a Toys R Us around here, and I saw him. I remember buying the R2 Bendem only because he had a third leg, and it would look cool with my C-3PO. So,
yeah, I do think that Disney does have to be careful because of just that there is so much, and I also am in agreement that there's no such thing as too much Star Wars, because we get to pick. I mean, I've read some of the High Republic stuff, not all of it. I've read some of the comics, not all of it, and I enjoy what I read. I enjoy what I watch.
I do book on tape a lot because I drive, but lately I've had so many Star Wars podcasts to listen to that I haven't, I would recommend the Afro podcast or the Afro audio drama. That one is a good one. I just listened to that because I wanted to hear 000's voice, so Safi could practice.
Is it an English accent?
Yeah, it's this will really age me. It's Lost in Space, the old TV series. Dr. Smith. It's if you blend him a little bit with C-3PO.
Oh wow! Okay, so it does sound like a butler.
Yeah, he was like a butler, but he was like Dr. Smith had that like kind of like smart aleck kind of twist to it.
Okay.
So BT is another one that I love too. We have a guy in Delaware that built a BT, and he keeps sending me messages to bring Safi down, to troop with him, but it's just, it never works out. And now she's in college. So when she was in high school, I'd be like, you can skip some school or somewhere, but college a little bit.
One thing I like about what they've been doing, especially with the Disney Plus shows, is they've been showing a lot more citizens. Yeah. And so costumers have the ability to wear these like in-universe costumes without having to be so meticulous of, a TK, a Boba, a Din, and they fit right in. So whether you're talking about, the citizens of Freetown or the citizens of Mos Espa or whatever, you can go to Disney and look like one of the people.
Like, this is how you have to dress when you go to Galaxy's Edge. I haven't gone yet. Zoe's gone. I haven't gone yet.
Have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet, John?
No, I'm waiting on Dad and mine's schedule to line up. We promised each other neither of us would go unless we can go together.
Yeah, Zoe went to California and hung out with Lizzie there, and we had it planned, and then COVID hit, and then last year I didn't want to go, and then this summer, it all depends because Zoe goes out to LA next fall for her last semester, which I can't believe, Ken. That think about it. When you first met her, I think she wasn't even in college. Now she's graduating from.
So you just called me old again. Okay, that's
not as old as me, man. Not as old as me. But she goes out to LA. So we, depending on how the summer falls, we might go this summer. But I said to Missy, I don't know if I want to go when everyone has been cooped up for the last couple of years, all of a sudden descends on it as well.
Well, even now, so we have a friend who just was in Walt Disney World, and she sent us a picture of the castle during the big fireworks display or whatever. They were 3/4 of the way down Main Street.
Yeah.
So even though they're not back to 100% capacity, it's, from my perspective, still fuller than it should be, and more full than it should be for comfort. I'm not we've been to Disney several times since the pandemic started. I know that sounds like a humble brag, and I apologize for that. and it's true. So we've been there, and I don't think I would go back again at full capacity.
Yeah, I just want to wait till it kind of mellows out, and you know, but I mean, I want to go. It's killing me not to go, but
So can I offer you guys up 2 suggestions related to Galaxy's Edge when you
yes,
go?
yes,
Number 1, take your time,
yes,
because it's not a huge part of Hollywood studios if you go to Florida. However, you want to just not be rushed,
yeah,
because the attention to detail is wonderful. I mean, they have these little cabinets that are up against buildings and stuff, and if you look inside the cabinets, you'll see blasters and thermal detonators and helmets and backpacks and stuff. So knowing the geekery that the 2 of you are, you'll want to look in every one of those cabinets.
yeah.
So take your time.
I
The
can't.
other thing that I'll suggest is be prepared for the fact that not everybody is going to be as much of a fan as you are. And so they may jump in your way. They may be jostling you around. They may be, let them go. Let them pass.
Yeah.
Let them do whatever. Take your time and enjoy it, because they've done so much. They've spent so much time in paying attention to detail that they've even paid attention to sight lines. So while you're there in Batu, so you're in a park, you're in Epcot, or sorry, you're in Hollywood Studios, and when you look around, you can't see the rest of the park. They built it in such a way that when you're there, you're there. That's all you see.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Take your time.
Yeah, if I go, it's going to be nothing but Galaxy's Edge, because I'm at the age where I don't need to go see all of Disney World, and Dad and I are. If the whole family goes, my mom and my sister, they can go off and do their own thing. Dad and I are going to be in Galaxy's Edge the entire day.
Yeah. That's I just want to sit and look, and that's what, because I remember when I went to Harry Potter Land and I'm not even a big Harry Potter fan, but I was blown away at that detail, and I lucked out and got to go to the last year they had Star Wars weekend. I went to opening weekend of the last Star Wars weekend.
Okay.
And that one I wish I would have taken more pictures, because they made the one restaurant next to where the Star Wars ride is in Hollywood Studios.
Yep.
I don't know the name. It's on the left-hand side.
Star Tours.
Yeah, but Star Tours, but the restaurant's right there on the left-hand side. It's like a backlot restaurant or something it's called. I don't know. But the one whole room was just walls of Mandalorian helmets and Stormtrooper helmets just hanging all over the place. And so, yeah, I'm excited to go. I just don't. I mean, I'll probably go more than once, but my kids are at the age where, it's not. They don't need to go this year. They can wait. Yeah. And I have a. This isn't a Chase Manhattan commercial, but I have a Chase card that I just got all my points converted to Disney points. So right now I have like $6,000 worth of Disney points to spend to go to Disney. So
why aren't you doing why aren't you doing the Halcyon then? Why aren't you doing the 2 nights on the Galactic Star Cruiser?
I'm not doing. That's okay. There's the one thing I don't like about Star Wars is that thing. I was getting ads for that. The first probably 10 ads I saw, I thought it was an ad for a really bad fan film. I thought it was a fan film. I was like, and then I realized what it was. So yeah, if I don't like Batu, maybe I'll do that. But that was not. It just that seems like something that'd be good if I had like smaller children and I had tons of money.
No, see, I think you'd want to do it as an adult with tons of money.
Well,
because
maybe.
If you had small children, you would be corralling them around.
Yeah, but it looked like some of the events, like they had like the lightsaber training and a couple of the other things. But yeah, I don't know. That's going to be one of those things. Maybe Zoe will get a job with Lucasfilm after all, and she's had at least one interview with him, so I can't. Every time I try to discourage her and say put her expectations down, she always exceeds her expectations. So hopefully that follows through in everything else she does.
Well, she's doing better than any of us.
Yeah, I told her the one day. I said, I'm just jealous of you, people, for her Star Wars thing. But yeah, I don't know how far Jordan's shop is from you, Ken. He's in, I don't know what, it's in northern Jersey. How far are you from northern Jersey?
Well, I'm down by Atlantic City.
Oh yeah, then you're like, but we restored his yak face, so we have to take his life-size yak face back to him.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so he has a life-size yak face action figure, and the guy who painted it didn't paint it like he wanted it, so Marty and I stripped it down and painted it just like the actual 1980s action figure.
Oh, that's awesome!
So there's a big 6 foot tall yak face. So.
Heather and I are always up for an adventure, so if you tell us where that is, we'll probably get there at some point.
Yeah, his shop is nice, but he's only open like 5 hours a week. But it's nice. Like he gave Zoe last time we were there one of the Mandalorian battle packs that have all the Death Watch in them.
Oh, cool!
The action figures. And we're driving home, and she looked up. She's like, "This is like a $450 set." I was like, "Oh, yeah, Jordan's cool." Because he let us down the
my jealousy every time.
Huh?
Still triggers my jealousy every time because I know that battle pack, and I always wanted that battle pack, but I'm not spending $500 on 5 action figures.
Well, he has. Well, he let us we were just hanging out one time. He said, "Oh, you should go down and look in the basement." So we were looking, and he has the first 12 carded figures in bubbles down in his basement. Like all of them, the first like mint condition. His shop's nice. I mean, he has a lot of like middle of the road stuff too, but his stuff is nice. It's not. You can't really call it.
It sounds like a store on like Rodeo Drive where you got to make an appointment, and the only way that you can get in there is if you're gonna buy something.
He calls it a gallery. He doesn't call it a store.
There you go. Okay, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And I need to have a shopping assistant with me.
Yeah, but
or an entourage.
He's so nice, man. He's one of those people that, how you get cynical sometimes with people. So when I first we met him at Celebration. No, we met him before Celebration. We talked to him, and he said, I don't know. He said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have Zoe on the show." Then we met him at Celebration. We were walking, and I got a text from him or something, and he said, "Where are you at?" And we were literally like 50 feet away from him. So we went and talked to him, and Matt Martin was there, and we were talking to him, and they did an interview with Zoe, right? And then he was like, being nice and saying all this stuff, and we were walking away, and Zoe said, "Oh, he wants to come to our place and do an interview with me." And I kind of told her like, yeah, sure, like he's just being, and lo and behold, her and him set it up, so. He's a good guy. I mean, and his stuff's nice. Like, I mean, he doesn't overcharge. But if you're looking for a particular thing, he'll probably have it. I was looking for I wanted the Ahsoka Starfighter that he couldn't find me. I wound up finding that from someone else.
Nice.
I don't. That one's still pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, I found that a guy had it without the box. And I think a lot of people didn't want it without a box. And I was like, it was like $75, which, I was like, I'll take it.
That's not bad.
But because we had them, the girls, we kept all their stuff. But there was one brief period where we had tons of ships, and the girls were more just into the figures, not the ships. So I was like, look, why don't we sell these? And we just bought them more figures, and that went with that. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I sold the Ahsoka ship. It just went, and I didn't realize it was an Ahsoka ship. Because as much as people are reminiscent of the 70s and 80s Star Wars toys, I think the best years for Star Wars toys was during the Clone Wars. I mean, the toys sucked because they broke like as soon as you played when your hands broke off. But it was like every week you'd see a character on the show, and then the next week it was in Target.
Yeah, the volume of the amount of things that came out during that time was amazing. The thing that baffles me right now today when it comes to toys, they're not designed or priced for people to play with.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, the example that I'll use is, I don't know if you guys have seen they just announced that they're going to have a Book of Boba Fett throne with Fat Fortuna.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see the price point on that playset?
No. It's outrageous.
It's like $200.
Yeah. Well,
and
even
most
the
of the
Razor Crest.
well, the Razor Crest to me makes sense because it's big, it's a ship that's small with lots of little toys, and it's funny because one of the things I love about talking nostalgia is the old toy commercials where you see the kids playing with them and everything. They have it's probably out there now somewhere. I know I saw it. There's a video like a commercial, but you don't have kids playing with these things. You just see them.
Oh, the Saturday Night Live skit. Yeah.
Well, well now it's not even it's an actual commercial for that playset, and they talk about playability or whatever at $199 or whatever the price is.
Well, I don't know. I think that kids don't play with action figures. Probably John's age, maybe Zoe's age, might be the last kids that really, because I think once smartphones, iPads, and all that hit, and I'm not against any of those things, they're just something different. Once those hit, okay, here's an action figure, or here's a game for your whatever. It's just kids have changed. I hear you guys on your podcast talk, since you have two toy guys on your podcast, and John, you would love their show because they both worked for Kenner, right?
Yeah.
And their stories are awesome when it comes to the old Kenner stories. But even the waning of action figures when the girls were little, they just became more collectible. Like those Clone Wars figures were nice, but they weren't like the Kenner figures where you could bury them in the sand and find them like 2 years later and everything was fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm a collector through and through. But to your point though, of like my generation was the last of the action figures. I can 100% verify that because I have two little cousins who are kind of back to your point of they're not really fans, but they like the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember. It was at least a couple years ago. It might have been when The Force Awakens came out, but like we got them action figures for Christmas, and they were totally uninterested. It's like, man, I would have just kept these for the collection if I'd have known you wouldn't cared. But yeah, I'm really Ken, again, back to your point, they're not branded towards kids anymore. Websites like Hasbro Pulse don't exist for parents buying them for their kids. It's for people like the three of us who you're gonna shell out $300 for a Razor Crest ship, or you're gonna shell out $900 for a Jabba sail barge because you want it for your collection.
Well, even this guy, I forget what I paid for him, but look how tiny that is.
$10.
Yep, $10.
Yeah. I mean, and if this was around when I was a kid, these little things would have been lost probably before I got rid of the packaging.
Yep. And so Arc 77 Fordo mentioned that he collects Legos or purchases Lego toys. I mean, I love Lego and their creativity and the amount of stuff that they put out there, and I'm still baffled by the way that they price those things out.
Yeah, I got the UCS the Ultimate Collector Series Republic Gunship, and I do no buyer's remorse whatsoever. The fact that I spent $350 on 3,400 pieces of plastic is just mind-boggling.
I remember that video. Didn't you make a video about that? I think I remember a TikTok video about that.
Yeah. The Republic Gunship was one of my favorite my favorite ships because I grew up on the prequels.
Yeah,
but
that is a good ship.
It took them forever to actually make a good set of the Republic Gunship, because you have the first one came out, and I want to say it was 2003 when right after Attack of the Clones came out.
Yeah.
Then we didn't have another one until 2013, and it was a minifigure scale model that it didn't have the right look to it. And then finally last year they put out the Ultimate Collector Series $350 set.
How heavy was the box?
Oh, it is heavy.
You buy pounds. That's the price point.
Yeah. Well, speaking about price point, they mentioned that the Grogu is about $30, $25 to $30.
Only send me $25 then.
So I'm going to sound like an old man here, and I'm going to step up onto a soapbox or invite other people to my TED Talk. The other piece when it comes to collecting that does bother me a little bit is when folks go into the store, buy it for X, and then turn around and resell it for 5 times X. I mean, I've witnessed it we're close to a Target where I met Anthony for our podcast. They're close to a Walmart and what used to be, there used to be a Toys R Us nearby. And I would see people go in there and just like literally hoard stuff, or they would be there on the day that the shipment came in and they had a deal with, Timmy who worked, and they would just get all of this stuff. And then you would find, I mean, there's this one guy has a shop on one of the boardwalks selling toys. And I saw you buy that thing, the other day for $10, and now in your store it's 37. Like,
yeah, I agree. I never minded the guy who, like, at the end of the run, and there's a whole bunch of Constable Zubio, and they buy a crap ton of them, and then 10 years later they're worth some money. I don't have, but when Zoe wanted Ahsoka, when Ahsoka first came out, we drove and hit every Target and Kohl's from Lancaster to Baltimore till we found it, because guys were just buying them in bulk, and the same happened with Sabine when the first Sabine figure came out. I wound up buying. The guys were buying them when we were at Steel City. Guys were buying them at the Target and taking them to their stand at Steel City and trying to sell them. Luckily, we beat them, to the Target down there. So, which I don't know. And Legos I like. I just don't have the patience. Like, if I did the last Lego I put together was a Harry Potter castle for the girls when they were really little. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. Because then I put it together. I'm like, what do I do with it now? Like, I don't have a castle shelf, And then we buy the minifigs, which I just found out. At the cons where they have those rows of minifigs, like you can go to a stand and I guess they're not really Legos.
All China.
Which I should have
really.
Probably,
100%.
I should have known that, because how in the world would you get 50 Jawas? Like.
One of the things I found too related to resellers, sometimes what they'll do is they'll buy the set and then they'll break it down because they know that they can get much more for those mini figures separately. But it's I understand capitalism. I get it. It makes sense to me. However, I think with everything else, sometimes it gets taken to an extreme level. I mean, just we mentioned Batu and Galaxy's Edge. When it first opened, people were getting the programs from Walt Disney World, the free maps that Walt Disney World handed out, and turning around and selling the map on eBay for $6 or $7 a piece for something that was given to them when they came in through the door.
Yeah. And maybe it's because we're in the costuming groups where we put thousands of dollars into a costume and then do stuff for free. Maybe we're not good capitalists in that way. But I also think, like, Hasbro, I think Hasbro's dropped the ball, because at least in the days of the Clone Wars, if you couldn't I knew that I couldn't find an Ahsoka. I knew I would find one in the next couple of days. Now it seems like they're like, okay, here's one run. Like, I don't know if it's just we live in an age where people's interests change so quickly. But Star Wars, like when I was growing up from 77 well into the 80s, there was a Star Wars section in the toy store at all times, even when there was no movies. Once they hit it, and it's like the stores they just want the next hot item, and like it just, I think that's probably part of the reason why kids aren't into stuff. And secondly, like there's just no long-term, like, it's like, okay, if you don't get, like, there's no rhyme or reason to what figures they put in. And to me, they should know by now that just make the same amount of every figure, because everyone's going to want them,
Well, what's funny, though, is that some of them do sit on pegs for a while. So for whatever reason, in the stores near us, the most recent peg warmers have been the Black Series Lando.
Yep.
And it's a gorgeous figure, and I can't imagine, or I can't understand the amount of money they've invested in the packaging now, because the packaging is like prismatic and it's gorgeous cardboard box. But now, I know we've talked about it, kids don't play with them anymore.
Yeah.
And in some ways, the kids are priced out of getting. So kids
Right.
can't take their allowance and go and get 3 figures.
Dude,
Back
they
when we
used to
were kids,
come
they were how expensive?
Yeah, they were $1.59 when I started. But I remember the ships would come in a cardboard box, thrown in there, and just one little piece of tape, and you dump them out, and all the parts would pour out, and you'd shake it, and then a little sticker sheet would come out. There was no packing holding them together,
Yep.
And most of my ships we had in the town of Honeybrook near us. An Amish person used to buy all the busted and wrecked stuff from Penny's and Sears. And that's where we used to get I got my TIE fighter, half the box was missing, and all the stuff was just taped up with and they would sell them, but you get them for like half the price. It was a true unclaimed freight type store back in the 70s, So it's just weird how things have changed.
Yeah, so our listener even talked about that kids are having to spend so much more money on them. So Legos for Star Wars, $14 to $16. For non-Star Wars, it's like $12.
Yeah, well, they got paid that license fee.
Yeah. Well, I'm obviously I think I'm the only one who is seriously into Lego out of the three of us. But they just announced they're doing a a scene set from The Mandalorian season 2 in the finale when Luke's fighting the Dark Troopers.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
It's 166 pieces. The set itself is probably only yay big. It's a $30 set. When I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, it would have easily been a $15 metal pack because it's because it's got the Dark Troopers. People want the Dark Troopers for army building, and it's Star Wars. That's Lego price per piece, which is kind of the metric that's been used throughout the years, has totally gone out the window for Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of wanted to bring up one thing. Back to I don't remember if it was you or Mike, Ken, that said it, but going back to there's you go to your Target and then someone's there buying everything. I'm very grateful to be in the position that I am because I work part-time at GameStop. So I entirely stopped going to these big box stores. If there's something I want, I will either pre-order it straight from either Hasbro or Lego, whatever it may be, or I'll pre-order it at work. And it's something that not a lot of people have the opportunity for because I know when pre-orders go live.
Yeah.
So be like, all right, cool. Got to stop in Thursday night, pre-order X Black Series figure.
Yeah, and some of the things, if you don't know that the pre-order is coming, you don't get in on it. And then other things, to Mike, I think you mentioned it a little bit ago. It gets released, but you never see it. There are figures that I've seen, on yakface.com or somebody posts a picture of it on Facebook or whatever, and I've never ever seen that figure live and in person. Never saw it on a shelf. Never had the opportunity to find it in the hunt.
Yeah, my most recent example of that is there was a Walmart exclusive Black Series Captain Rex and Imperial Crosshair from the Bad Batch that the pre-orders online were gone in 3 minutes. They have never.
That I don't understand because isn't the whole point of pre-orders so they know how many to make?
You would think, but that's one figure that I've never seen in stores or on shelves at all because and now they're going for $55, $60, $70. And I just walking through Steel City, I was shocked that I saw one and the guy wanted $100 for it. It's like, well, there's no point in paying that.
Yeah, right.
When it was, it's a $23 figure.
See, I wouldn't even say it's $23. I know that's what they're charging for them now, but I'm not gonna lie, there are moments where I'm like, man, this is as cool as this is.
John might not think this way yet, but lately I've been thinking everything in terms of filament spools.
I'm kind of there.
Well, that's $30.
I'm running out of my second accidental Amazon order of filament. So now we're thinking, $20 $20 for filament, $20 for an action figure. Can make 2 helmets, can buy 1 figure.
Get GST 3D.
Yeah, I know.
$100 for 10 rolls.
As soon as I'm out of this PLA Plus, because I accidentally. So what I did is I ordered 10 rolls of PLA Inland brand PLA Plus, and I didn't realize that I accidentally hit the subscribe button on Amazon, and I did that twice. So I ended up with 30 rolls of PLA Plus that I 15 boxes of. I'm like, I don't even print this much, because I always try and figure out how to print things that'll use the least amount of filament. So like I put it a little bit out of reach. This helmet, I printed this all in one piece. Nice. But instead of, printing on the inside of the dome and having a whole support go to the top, I printed it upside down. So the only supports were on the top of the dome, on the ear caps, and then on the bottom edge of the visor.
Well, you can shut your supports off on that top too. You could print that with no in the dome. It'll work. My Fennec Shand. Hang on.
Yeah, I got to hang out with you guys more often to get some prints made.
If only we didn't live in 3 different states.
This was printed right here with no supports except for around the edge. No bottom, no top. It printed right on the bed like this.
See, I get nervous about that because I don't know what's wrong with my printer, but like there are some times where it's like, I don't need supports there. And then it turns out it's like, I guess I needed supports there.
My printer right now is dialed in, so I'm trying not to touch anything because I want to print some wood filament, and I got to change some settings, and I'm just waiting until I have to change something. So I've been printing unrelated to Star Wars flexi prints. Have you ever seen those? Mm-hmm. And I've been printing them for my wife's classroom. Let me go. Hang on. Let me go grab one. You guys keep talking.
Well, he's running away. So, what toys would you like to see made from this season of the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, first and foremost, an accurate Black Chrysanthemum would be nice. I don't know if you saw the horrible botched release of that figure. Yeah, I was thoroughly disappointed when because it's a repainted Chewbacca with unpainted armor. It looks terrible. As someone like, I want to do a Chrysanthemum costume, and just looking at after hyper analyzing his. Oh, I've seen those. I've seen that model before, and I've written it.
Yeah, they print all in one piece, and they're flexible. No supports, nothing. I print them for my students and my wife's students as like if I give them a review sheet, the one who scores the highest, I give them a dragon. I don't know.
That's cool.
Unrelated to Star Wars. But Ken, did you see?
Wow. And that's a print?
It's a Ruby's helmet.
Oh, wow.
I repainted it. You can see there's screens right here.
Oh, okay.
I cut holes in it. It's for the drummer of Galactic Empire.
Oh, nice.
But this is a $50 Ruby's helmet. I tore it apart and painted it. It's really nice. Like, I'm tempted to buy one just to do for myself.
My costume has 2 Ruby's blasters.
Yeah. I have the file for the realistic blasters like Bo-Katan has. If you need a pair, I got a pair here that I printed for someone in Australia, and shipping would have been twice as much as what they cost.
Oh my goodness!
So I got a pair if you.
John and I were just talking while you were walking away. What toys we'd like to see made from the Book of Boba Fett?
Oh, what do you got? Is that a Rocktopus?
Yeah, or not a Rocktopus, but hang on.
Yeah, I have the Rocktopus file. I print those for my students too.
Yeah, this was one of the first things that I printed when I got my first 3D printer, and I would never ever want to get. I'm shocked that I didn't lose this.
Yeah,
but yeah, I love print in place flexi prints.
Yeah, Colt 3D is where I get mine from. Anyway, so what would you say?
What toys would you want to see made from the Book of Boba Fett?
Rancor, which they almost made. Again, HasLabs. So here's my if I work. So if you talk to your toy guys and they want to hire me for Hasbro, which I know they don't work. Here's where they went wrong with that Rancor. They should have sold that Rancor. They should have charged a little more, made him a little bigger, but he should have come with a set, and the set should have been the round base to Jabba's palace with his pen in it. And then the next set would have been whatever room, and it would have set on top of that. So when the people are all done buying these sets, they have like a 4-foot thing that stands high that you could display figures. Because I think the reason the sail barge was such a big hit, it was a display piece. You know, I mean, it was a ship, but technically it was a display piece for all these figures. And the Rancor, when they did that Rancor, people don't want a figure. You know, they want to be able to display it. So I just pictured Jabba's palace at about 4 foot tall, sitting in the corner of your living room where the one side's open, and you could set up a Jabba, or you could set up a Boba Fett, and all these things in a multi-level building. That's what people want.
Yeah, and if Hasbro's going to be building it, then you know it's going to be accurate. You know, it's going to be to scale, that kind of stuff.
Well, and if you buy, that's the other thing is if you get 10,000 people buy the first one, most of them are going to buy the second one so they can stack it on top of the first one. Like it's just like when they put the action figure with like one leg of some dude in it. You know, I mean, I know I'm just a school teacher, but if you want to sell more things, you got to make them a reason for them to buy it, especially in these days and times. Like, you know,
yeah, people didn't want rocks and bones in a cardboard backdrop. That was the biggest botch on Hasbro's part in recent memory.
And that's what I mean, related to that Fat Fortuna set. You know, it's lots of little accessories. You know, the throne is cool, and a new version of Bib Fortuna is cool, and everything like that. But
no, I don't know if Bib Fortuna was ever a top figure. I don't think some kid was like,
no,
you know,
no. I would love to see them make the mods and their scooters.
Yeah. I heard you say that about the McDonald's toys. That's a pretty awesome idea.
Yeah. See, I don't know if they do that though.
I don't know if they would. I know that's what I would like. You know, one of the things I liked about toys, so when I was growing up, my mom and dad got divorced when I was young, and so we'd go to my dad's house sometimes, and at my dad's house is where I had all my Star Wars toys. At home is where I had all my G.I. Joe toys, because my dad wouldn't let me bring my Star Wars toys home, and my mom wouldn't let me bring G.I. Joe toys over there.
Oh,
so
that's some childhood trauma there.
Pretty much. And one of the things I loved is I'd have a couple vehicles. So I had like the snowmobile and Zartan sled for G.I. Joe. And I remember having the Ewok Village and the ATST chicken walker for the Star Wars toys at my dad's house. So I loved the figures and their vehicles.
Man,
you know, and the mods, those little scooters are great vehicles.
I have to correct your Star Wars. ATST and Chicken Walker are different.
They are.
The Chicken Walker was on Hoth. You just saw a little one rolling around. It looks similar, but it's not the ATST.
Ah, okay.
He's right.
I'm only saying that because between you and Sal Perales, that you are the two people I could never fix with a Star Wars fact. I figure I'm getting one chance with you. Because Ken's like the walking encyclopedia of Star Wars. But anyway, sorry. But yeah, no, anyway, go. I'm sorry. Go. I didn't mean to interrupt your story. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I want to see those. I want to see those little scooters. As much as people bashed them, I want all of them. I think they were fun.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest reason they wouldn't do it, is just because I don't understand why. Like, they weren't my favorite part of the show, but I didn't hate them. I thought it was a very interesting it was an interesting take on, you know, what a citizen of Mos Espa would be. Yep. It was left field for Star Wars, but I appreciate that they tried something that wasn't, you know, your cookie cutter Star Wars. It's like, it's not some tough grizzled dude like the moisture farmer. who that's how they were introduced.
Yeah.
I mean, but the
Milton.
Yeah.
They should have had a red stapler. It would have been.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of unnecessary hate, and that's why I don't foresee them, at least in the near future, that they would ever try and merchandise on those. But I wholeheartedly agree. Those would be awesome vehicles and characters to make, even if they just do the main two, the one girl with the vest with the zipper that everyone hates, and the guy with the cybernetic eye.
Well, and so Zoe and I were talking about that episode because people complained about the slow speed chase and whatever, and that didn't bother me either. But I said to Zoe, I said it could have also been one of those things where they filmed it and thought, hey, we'll speed this up, and then when they sped it up, they're like, it didn't look good, so they're like, okay, let's just do it this way and it'll be fine, you know. And I said this to someone else, but I often wonder if Star Wars people have made Star Wars a job, have made liking Star Wars a job. You know, like they forget why they like it. Like they feel like they have to critique every little, nuance of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's because there's a lot of.
Too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, all I was gonna say is I feel like that's because there's a lot of very how do I want to say this? There's a lot of megaphoned negativity where that's the loudest thing you hear. So people think that, everyone who likes Star Wars hates Star Wars. I always say this. Nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. It's tried and true.
Unless you come to our movie set.
True. Then there's a lot of positivity on those sets. But yeah, I think that's I wholeheartedly agree with you, Mike. There's people have to think that liking Star Wars is a job because there's so much negativity that is so loud around the fandom.
And I don't think I'll ever understand the disliking of it. I can't make sense of it. I mean, if you don't like it, then just leave it alone. Like,
it's not.
I don't like romance novels, so I can tell you what, I've never gone into BAM or gotten onto Amazon and purchased a romance novel. So if you don't like it, don't be involved in it. And I've never posted anything anywhere about why I think romance novels are awful, or why I would never read one, or why I would never buy one for a Christmas gift for anybody. But there are folks who spend lots and lots of time critiquing it to the nth degree, and to your point with the megaphone, broadcasting it for the world to hear. Like,
and why? Like, I was raised like, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Like, I could probably pick other fandoms that I don't like. It would be dumb of me to have like a Twilight vampire podcast and then complain that I don't like Twilight vampires. You know what I mean? That would just be odd. Like, I just find it odd. And then he could be one of the characters. Yeah, well, anyone in Central PA that wants to join us on our thing, find me on Facebook. Because the Tuscan thing is my next, after we get this movie thing for Matt. I'm very happy with Matt's speed on this movie, because I've helped out with certain movies and it seems like they never go anywhere, and it seems like Matt's moving relatively fast on this.
So I hope there's I hope we do some sort of screening. I don't care if I have to take off work for it, but my dad's begging me. He's like, "When's this movie going to be done? When's it going to be done?" I'm like, "We're picking up. We're doing pickup shoots next month, so hopefully soon."
Yeah. Well, the stills alone were beautiful. like that was a good day.
Yeah, that's honestly probably one of the best memories I've had in recent memory.
Yeah. Well, and I want to shoot a Tuscan movie there. So Marty and Zoe were talking about a Tuscan movie. And again, I'm still thinking when we get all our Tuscans, we should all okay, let's just I still would love to shoot a documentary style Tuscan movie. Like do a Tuscan encampment. Remember when we got there and those people were camping where they weren't supposed to be camping?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine setting up a Tuscan camp right there. So we, not where you see the water, and then just shooting just like the almost like a crocodile hunter type show coming up on Tuscans, you know.
Well, and if you're gonna go that level of doing a Tuscan documentary with a bunch of people in Tuscan costumes, I want to put it out there for the universe to hear. All of us need to learn to do the fire dance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that has to be a requirement if you want to be in this thing. You have to do the fire dance with us.
Well, and I still think I want to shoot it with a 360 camera. So we in real time we do. There's no backlot, and then you edit everything in post, because the 360 shoots 360 degrees all the time.
Right.
And then you just you shoot some scenes straight on camera, but we just hide a 360 camera in a pole somewhere and just let it film. I don't know. I just want to get a Tuscan done. Safi said the Tuscan's a pretty easy costume to wear, and with the shortened eye stalks, I don't think it'll be a problem. Oh, there we go. Fire dance. Yeah, I'd love to do a fire dance. Hey, at the very least, yeah. I mean, I don't know if we can have a fire there though. Now that I think about it, that guy, honestly, the guy that runs that thing, he loved us being there so much. He would probably let us. Sure, it's state land, but put a fire on there. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
as
those
long as
kids who
we
were
were-
camping were.
Yeah, the kids at camping didn't mind.
Yeah,
I
don't think they're supposed to be.
as long as we're conscious enough to have one or two people dedicated and committed to making sure it gets put out and spread out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. Like the first photo shoot we ever did there, we had people stopping by and taking pictures. We had a lot stopping by that day, taking pictures.
I think my favorite comment of that day is I was walking from the set down to the pavilion where you guys were all getting changed, in your TKs. And as I was walking towards it, there was some people on bicycles coming towards me. And at that time, Marty was only half Chewbacca. And so I stopped them. They said, "What's going on?" I said, "Just be careful when you get down there. There's some wildlife, in the next clearing. So just be mindful." And they're like, "What?" And so I went down, did whatever I needed to do, came back. They were still there. And they said, "Yeah, so glad you told me about this. It would have scared the crap out of me."
Yeah. The first time we went there, we didn't know the people, so we had to walk like a mile and a half or something like that. And Marty had to bring his R2 on a cart. We had a cart with his R2 pulling the R2. But yeah, that was a fun shoot. That was definitely in my top. It was just a good day. I mean, I was tired, man. I forgot how hard it is to just stand in armor, because you're like, I mean, it's not tiring. Like, I know people got bus rocks for a living and stuff, but it's like every muscle is trying to have you relax a certain way, and the armor won't let you do that.
I think I drove
learned
home just
quickly.
on pure adrenaline and excitement. I thought it was such an awesome day.
I'm glad you came, Ken. I mean, I knew you'd be up for it. I wish we would have had more troopers. I mean, we'll probably get more now because all these people wanted to. But I know, like, John came from Ohio, and what do we have? Someone came from West Virginia. Did someone come from West Virginia? The one officer, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then Donna and her daughter came from Delaware.
Okay. And it'll probably be a little bit warmer.
Yeah. That wasn't bad once the sun hit, but man, it was
early in the morning. I felt bad for Dan. He was in just as like his Under Armour, but getting into that C-3PO.
Dude, that C-3PO is a tough one. That's why when we do Safi's, I'm pretty much the only one that suits her up, because if you try to help someone in C-3PO and you don't know what you're doing, you can not only hurt them, you can damage their armor pretty quick.
Yep.
Because Missy used to help Dan a lot, and a couple times, because Missy would be doing it, and then people trying to stick their hands in to help, and she'd be like, just let one person do it.
Especially let the one person who knows how to do it do it.
Right,
I appreciate the assistance, but
yeah, everyone gets in a hurry. That's one of those. Every time I've hurried to try to put Safi in 000, I've had to take a piece off because I forgot some. It's just one of those things. Okay, put this on, because at one time we had her all suited up, went to put her head on, and forgot to put the battery pack on, or no, forgot to turn the batteries on. So I had to take her head off, arms off, chest off, turn it on, and put it back all back. So her C-3PO suit will have a removable back panel that I will not have to worry about.
Nice.
That's live and learn.
We got a comment about the fire dance, and I think that should be a so either initiation or some sort of need some sort of code word to see if anyone knows the fire dance. Because if you know the fire dance, you can be part of the group. You can be part of the tribe.
Ken, are you going to be running that vetting process there as well, making sure you're going through all the audition tapes?
Yeah.
We could, what we should do though, when we do get the Tuscans done, that would be a good behind the scenes, the forces behind Star Wars. That would be a good episode.
100%.
Because like the Tuscans are one of those ones where similar to Mandalorians, like what I've noticed with the costuming groups, the Stormtroopers and the Rebel Legion, but the Mandalorians, just like in the show, it's really structured around the family of the Mandalorians. Like I am so happy with the welcoming family that Zoe has gotten through the Mandalorian mercs. And I feel like the mercs, I mean, I'm sure they have their same problems as everyone else, but I'm saying it seems like they're really, in a tongue-in-cheek thing, have fun with that whole family of Mandalore,
Yeah.
Before the Mandalorian came out. This was not something that they decided after they saw the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I like, not that there's one club that's better than the rest of the clubs. The thing I like most about the Mandalorian costuming group, and the reason I was so motivated to get involved, is not only do you get to create something that could exist in the Star Wars universe, there's a lot more freedom and creativity allowed. So you could have 50 people lined up as Mandalorians, and all 50 of them could be different color, different heights, different sizes, different weapons, different soft parts, different hard parts, and still be Mandalorian. Whereas with TKs, it's you have 5 or whatever, and they're very meticulous by design, because you want them all to be, seen as a mass.
Yeah.
And exact to each other. Whereas the Mandalorians, it's the rainbow of Star Wars costumes.
Well, they're like this. They're like when I noticed it's Orlando when I was at the 501st Bash, and then there was a bunch of all the other clubs around, and you could look at the 501st guys, and most of them on the whole had their nicely washed and cleaned 501st racing shirt on, maybe some patches, but they all had almost like a uniform look to them. And then you would see the Rebel Legion were kind of the same, but they might have been a little, theirs varied more. Like the 501st, even the guys that are different, they kind of still look the same. And then you'd see the droid builders. They were like the IT guys. You're like, oh yeah, he's a droid builder. He's a droid builder. I mean, this was pre lots of 3D printing guys. But then you would see the Mando Mercs, and they were like that crazy uncle that everyone has that shows up on a different Harley with like a different girlfriend every holiday, and is like happy to see everybody, no matter who it was, and that's how the Mando like it was. I was talking to Quinn, and I was pointing it out in Orlando. I say, look, Mando, and it was funny because it's neat because there's someone's place. And someone fits in all of those, but when the Mando Mercs, it's the time for the Mercs. Like when Clone Wars came out, that was the 501st's heyday. We had tons of clones coming in, and now with Mando and Boba Fett, it's like the Mando Mercs' time to shine, and it's just such a good group of people.
And where do the Tuscans fit in the costuming world? Do they fit in Rebel Legion? Do they fit in the 501st? Or is it time now to?
They fit in both. Yeah, they have. So I don't know what the Rebel Legion has, but in 501st, it's called DZ. The designation is DZ, Denizen of the Empire.
Okay.
And so they fall into both. And normally, most of the time, if you get in one, you get in the other.
Okay.
The Crate Dragon Clan is the like subgroup that helps the 501st guys. So it's like if you want to help, that's where they're all their CRLs and the deeper dives and stuff like that. And so that's like when we build our costumes, we're going to try to build them to those specs, but that's a secondary thing. Like I would much rather have 35 people that we know in Tusken Raiders, even if they don't, because some people just don't like the costuming groups for whatever reason. Some people, I like the costuming groups because I like that camaraderie, and I like those rules to a certain rules that don't really matter. Like, you know, like I just like that I like the standards in any of them. You know, I agree with you. Like you were saying when you were trying to be approved, it's a pain, and I think how people deal those standards can vary. But overall, I like the standards, and I just like us to have a group. I keep running through my head, and I have to. The voice in my head says, "No more projects, no more projects." I have the plans in my head to build a bantha, and I know exactly how I want to do it, but I have to tell myself to shut up because I got to get all my other shit done first.
Well, why don't you build a Mastiff instead? That might be more manageable.
A what?
A Mastiff, one of the Tuscan the crocodile dogs.
Yeah, but I was thinking of like picture like an 8-foot tall bantha that we just stood behind us. I was like, oh, I can make it.
Oh, I can picture that. My point is, I don't know if I can picture that in your basement.
No, that would
like
be
where you're going to
live
store
in my garage. That would then every time I wanted to do some work, there would be a bantha parked in my driveway.
Well, you got finish your V-dub first?
Yeah, the V-dub got to get done too. Unless
you build the bantha in such a way that you can put it over the VW.
Yeah, see. Well, no, the V-dub's plan is to be a Mose Eisley Police Department pickup truck.
Okay.
So, because it's factory white. So, because I said to Missy, I said, look, if I don't have this thing, if I don't have progress on this van by the end of summer, I probably got to rethink of keeping it, which is kind of motivating me to get some work done on it. Because I bought it when I was like 19. But my plan is then to get magnetic stickers that say Mose Eisley Police Department and put on it, and then on the back put the MG 3042 or whatever blaster and stuff like that. So that's my plan. How many horses? Oh, okay. Well, no, I the only reason is because the tribe that he was with, which I would think was cool, and it's a tribe we'll probably wind up building. I think they were trying to portray those as more of like a farming type tribe, because the other tribes were the old school that like they were bound to their banthas and they were more like a warring tribe, and these guys seemed less warring and more because they had that little wooden thing that looked like they were trying to farm, and then that little kid took them and showed them that gang to show, look, it's not the Tuscan Raiders doing all this shit. You know what I mean? When that little kid showed up and stuff. So, you know, but I like the new guy. It seems like everyone likes the new ones. The rifles, I like the rifles. I like the rifles better than the previous Tuscans, because the previous Tuscans, some of the rifles look a little weird. The stocks look weird.
Yeah, and I forgot, did they have the breather or not?
Some did, and some didn't have the breather. Like I like the shortened eye stalks. Their mouths were, I think, a little more open, because the New Hope ones, it's like a inverted C stuff. So
yeah, they're much more of an egg shape for their mouths, and the greeblies on the inside are very different than the ones from A New Hope. Yeah. At least the Chief and the
Chief and the Warrior were different. The
right.
other ones were somewhat the same, but it looked like their head wraps were the same, and then they had one extra brown kind of coming through. But their eye stalks were definitely shorter.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked like their blood tubes were the same length. Like I said, I had like printed off like side pictures, and I was like measuring it. So the eye stalks,
you know, in comparison, this group of actors had to be more active. They had to be more mobile.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't just seen from a distance or seen in, you know, one or two shots. I mean, they were dancing around a fire, for crying out loud.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, or even if it was a CGI fire, I mean, they were still a lot more mobile than just the reoccurring, you know, the moving their arms up and down and slamming their gaffy stick on the.
I think the original one, didn't they reverse the film?
Yeah. So they because they didn't record enough, they didn't film enough, so they had to repeat it.
Yeah, I'm happy with what they did with the Tuscans. I mean, because basically they didn't really rewrite the Tuscans. They just showed that not all Tuscans are the same, which is a good life lesson for people. Like same with the Jawas. You would have never thought of the Jawa butt smacking someone with a rifle, you know, and the Jawas were.
Or stripping someone of their armor and leaving them in the desert.
Yeah. They're like, well, they didn't kill him, but you know. And I
They
like,
didn't help him either.
that was, but I like what they did with the Tuscans. I do like that dog thing, but I was looking at files. I was like, I wonder how many spools it would take to just 3D print this sucker, you know. But I was like, nah, I can't. Because it was the file. If I zoom it up big enough, the one file I found, it wouldn't look right. It would be all the details would be gone. I might as well just wrap up a stuffed dog. So, yeah.
So how do you think tonight worked out for you, Mike? You think you
Yeah,
learned
well,
enough about how to do
I'm
this?
happy with this. I'm happy with this. I hope the people watching it are happy. I mean, it seems I feel like high tech. It seems better than what I was planning. Because with Zoe, I was trying to get her to do a video, and it makes me want to do more video too.
Well, one
but-
thing I think we could do if we do more of these kind of things is to have some segmented portions where we do ask a question and give us some space for the folks to respond,
Yeah,
and then we come back to the responses. So if we're going back to the toy thing, if we had planned it out, we say, hey guys, why don't you tell us the toys that you would like to see made from Book of Boba Fett, and we'll ask our viewers to do the same here in the chat.
Yeah, and just I don't know what it looks like on your screen, but let me see. I have other options. Like, let me see, like that. How long does it take to change?
It took moments.
Yeah.
So that one's not so good. But I also have a share screen option. So we could set up screens. I have multiple source options. So if we had a clip to show, but I like your segment thing because we could, like I said, like the graphics I have on the screen, which I would have to play around with a little more, but I'll show you here. Here's their stock graphics. Like that. There's their stock graphics.
Ooh, fancy.
I know, right?
Fits the vibe very well.
Yeah. But I can make I like this one that's here, this right here with the pictures of my podcast, Star Wars Geek Girl and Forces Behind Star Wars, and then it says StarWarsGeekGirl.com. I made that in Google Sheets or Google Draw, like in 2 seconds. So we can make. Now that I know how it sits, I just didn't know how it was going to sit because there was really no way to test it. And then when you guys here, watch. If I turn, watch this. Well, let me see. I don't want to mess yours up. That waiting room. I can put you in you can put people in a waiting room. So if we had guests, they can show up in a waiting room and turn them on, turn them off.
Do I have snacks in that green room?
Yeah, virtual snacks, all the snacks you want to eat. And I can change. Let me see. I think I can change your name square. I don't really. Yeah. And I can change primary color. Let's see.
We just got some feedback that the YouTube feed and the TikTok live aren't at the same place.
Yeah, well, I know the TikTok this is probably slower. So what I think I'm going to do next time when I do a TikTok live, I will just put my TikTok live on a screen that tells them to go here, and then just set it off to this side.
Gotcha.
Because there's no feed, so this should be feeding it's feeding to Facebook, which I have the Facebook up. It's feeding to YouTube. I don't think anyone watches it in Facebook. And it's feeding to, I think, Tumblr or something. I have a Tumblr account, which I never used. Is it Tumblr? Let me see. Hang on. Let me see. Which is the one? It doesn't tell me. Which is the one that looks like a purple?
Twitch.
Is that Twitch?
That's Twitch.
Yeah, so it's, let me see. Because I think I started a Twitch a while ago and never used it. And since Google,
the only Twitch I have is if I've been awake for too long and my left eye.
Yeah, so it's I'm looking. It's on Twitch. Whoops.
The only Twitch I have is if I've been awake for too long and
there. It's running a couple seconds behind the live feed, and I don't know if there is a live stream to restream or not. So, but it's a pretty decent service. I have. Like I said, I can do sources. So I think when I do, so when I do thumbnails like this, we could have something in this big screen.
Okay.
What's this one? I got one other one. Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool too. So this one actually I like better because we get the wide screen of all of ours.
You can see.
Yeah,
I just have to be more prepared, so I'm not.
Yeah, come on, come on, Ken, come on. Blur out that,
Well, unfortunately, because of my injury and stuff, we still have the Christmas tree up.
I see the Christmas tree. I didn't want to poke fun at you for your Christmas tree since you did have an injury. But.
Yeah, the day that I was going to get the stuff from our storage unit to take the tree down, I went to pick up a television and I blew out my right bicep tendon. So I've been unable to use my right arm fully for almost a month.
Yikes!
So, but I get the benefit from being, still seeing the Christmas tree in February. So
well, that's good. We were bad Christmas people. We didn't even have a Christmas tree this year. So
I envy you. I'm not a fan of Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I'm not. I like Halloween and all the Star Wars holidays. That's my way to go.
See, I just like it simple. A Christmas tree with lights.
Yeah,
we don't do anything outside. I mean, we put other stuff around the house or whatever, but the Christmas tree, I just like the simplicity of the lit up tree.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm up for doing this again. I mean, I will get the audio. Hopefully, I hit record and I did that part right. If not, I can just pull it off of YouTube or Facebook or something like that. But
I definitely want to thank the folks that joined us too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Fordo and Kevin and who else we have on there? Baytech. So I'm glad that folks were listening and or watching and sending comments. All right, this is pretty cool.
And
thanks for inviting me out to this.
Yeah, what we'll have to do is we have. I recommend anyone listening listen to the Star Wars, the Forces Behind Star Wars. It's an awesome podcast. My daughter's podcast, Star Wars Geek Girl. Listen to that. I mean, there's a lot of guests on that. My podcast, which we have been on a hiatus forever, is Karita Cast. John is going to be starting one, so at least next time. But we should we could put next time in our names, we could put possibly our handles on other social media. If we come up with just so now I know where not to put the it's the Star Wars Force Behind Star Wars is right over the chat box. I know not to put it there next time. But we can play around with it if we have more guests. I'm always up for I think either I can have 8 or 10 people total. I forget. I bought the basic plan for this, so I have it for a year, just to try it out. Just because I want Zoe to try some video and I figured I'd learn it first. And TikTok's nice, but TikTok is it's not long for it's. I know a lot of people do lives, but it's not really conducive for long format with multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. I just looked at the time we've been talking for almost 3 hours.
Geez.
We've been talking longer than a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Well, it's good. We can end it with we're in a Star Wars hiatus right now, right? So when it comes to TV and movies, because I'm sure the Bad Batch is coming out soon, apparently, from what rumors have it. But what's your Star Wars downtime? Start with you, Ken. What's your plan?
Well, I got 2 things. One, I'm working on that post-Imperial Mandalorian, so I've got that I'm working on, and I'm attempting to catch up on the comics. Plus, doing our show, we had a little bit of a hiatus. Our next episode will be our 20th episode. If I were to do a little preview for the next episode, we're going to get together and talk about the 20 things that we love about the movie Attack of the Clones. Nice. Because this year we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. So it'll be our 20th episode about the 20th anniversary and the 20 things that we love about it.
John, how about you?
First on the docket is I gotta finish my my Mando Mercs armor. I don't have a name or a backstory yet. I'm waiting to finish the armor before I put any of that in. So anything that any inspiration that comes up along the way, that's as opposed to trying to fit the armor to a backstory, it's rather fit the backstory to the armor.
Nice.
So that's first on the docket. and then obviously, like you said, I'm going to try and get a podcast off the ground. And then whenever my Waltz kit ships, I really want to get my TK done before June is really my deadline. If I get it before the 13th, I would love to have it done by then. Then after that, it's just I'm gonna start kind of putting the planning together for Chrysanthemum, and that's gonna be kind of relying on the Chrysanthemum build group on Facebook for files for the armor, and then the latch hooking.
Yep, go to your local. Well, talk to Marty on which hair he uses for his.
Mm-hmm.
But he gets his at like a hair shop a lot of times.
Yeah, I ordered some on Amazon just to round out a same day delivery order. I'm like, you know what? I'll just throw this in there, just kind of see kind of what the texture is, and I'm pretty happy with the quality of the hair that I got. But I'm gonna check with Marty, see if he thinks it holds up to the same standards.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm just trying to get a lot of little stuff done. Probably maybe get my podcast back up and rolling too. But we should all talk about maybe we just all need to we just need to do something like this, and then we just insert ourselves into each podcast as just filler episode. I don't want to say filler in a bad way, but so, just to keep the algorithm going for. I don't know if they call it an algorithm for podcasts, but you need like that. You need almost. You don't need like it to be weekly, but you need an interval to get your numbers up. But I would recommend, listen to Ken's and when John starts his.
Well, at the very least, I mean, the three of us could get together and do some silly brainstorming. I mean, I'm up for that. I think sometimes I'm more of an idea guy than I'm an actual execution guy.
Well, you know what? Maybe I was wondering. So maybe we should leave with so we know what we're going to do. So I don't know when. It could be a week or 2 weeks. We'll do this again when you guys are free, or you guys pick a time. But who's on with us still? Any of those guys have what topics? I mean, I like what I hear on other podcasts, but I also I don't want to say we don't want to over talk what someone's already heard 50 times too. At a certain point, if you're 2 weeks late and you hear someone still talking about the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett, you're like, oh man, I've just heard 6 podcasts about that. What else you got for me?
Well, it depends, because I mean, one of the things that, not to sound like I'm, blowing sunshine up my own butt, but one of the things that we pride ourselves with our show is we attempt to make it evergreen. So even though we may mention things about something that just happened, or something that happened in the first movie in 1977, we build it in such a way, or we talk about it in such a way that it's not dated.
Well, and that's what I do like about your show. Because there are some shows, if you're busy and you miss a week, it doesn't really pay to go back and listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do a lot of the reaction stuff. We don't do a lot of the news stuff. I mean, we sometimes mention things.
Yeah.
But that's not the meat of our show. A lot of times we talk about the history behind it, or the inspiration behind it, and or what we have taken from it. Things that Star Wars has inspired us to do or make or follow up on. And that fan film that we've been talking about off and on throughout tonight is a wonderful example of that. So we saw these movies whenever we saw these movies, because we saw them at different times of our life, and we got together one day and went to Pennsylvania and helped other makers make a movie. I mean, how cool is that? And I know Anthony has mentioned it a couple times in our show, and I'll say it here for the world to hear, that Star Wars connects people. Star Wars binds people.
Yeah. Okay. Here I'm saying what people would like to see and how it would. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we could talk about things in the future. I wholeheartedly, I think my next progression, and maybe it's because where my kids are at, in my costuming world, I'm still going to troop and all of that stuff. But I hope my next progression involves more fan films. I would rather be a stormtrooper in a bad fan film some days than it's still a good day. Like,
Well, with that in mind, is it possible instead of doing fan films, what if you did fan skits?
yeah,
So you instead of doing an entire full length feature or whatever, it's little bits. So this thing that you put together, you mentioned it earlier, we're gonna do something with the Tuscans, and so we
Yep.
come up with something that involves the Tuscans, and maybe the next time we figure out a way of getting the mod speeder bike gang together, or I don't know, someone who's barbecuing kawaki and monkey lizards.
Yeah.
A day in a food stall, a day in a Mas Espa food stall.
Well, me and Zoe, when we were home with quarantine, we did talk about if she could somehow figure out how to do The Office, but it would be, the show The Office, but base it in the Death Star. Like it's one of the offices in the Death Star.
Yeah,
Well,
Mike, kind of to your... Go ahead, Ken.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you ever see the Chad Vader show?
Yeah, I love Chad Vader.
Something like that would be funny too.
That guy wound up getting a job with Lucas Arts that did the Vader voice. He's one of their go-to guys because he did some weird thing with a long pipe when he did the voice, and he's one of the guys.
That's really funny.
Me and the girls used to watch it when they were little. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, just kind of going back to your point of I would rather be a bad stormtrooper in a bad fan film. I mean, I wholeheartedly cannot tell you how much I agree with that. Just because like my passion's always been film, so like just being on set for that day was just a dream come true. It's like it felt like I'm a part of Star Wars, even though it's it's just it's a fan film at the end of the day. But it was one of those things where if I could do that every day, I would be a happy camper.
Yep. Well, I like it because, like it or not, I'm getting older. But when I'm in a stormtrooper suit, no one knows that. I'm just like, I'm the same 30-some-year-old that started in a stormtrooper suit, or the same 20-some-year-old that was looking for stormtrooper armor,
Or the same 7-year-old when you watched it the first time, or however old you were when you watched it the first time.
I was 9. I was 9. Man, I still 4. Wish I. 4. Yeah, well, yeah.
Did you say you were -4? What did you say?
No, I was -22 when it came out, but I was 4 when I first saw it.
Zoe was like 6 weeks old when she first saw it. Because I was off winter break in college, and I just would put I just got, I don't know if it was on VHS or DVD, the first 3 movies, and I just had them playing on a loop, while I was watching her. So just get it put in the kid's head young. So all right, gentlemen, we almost hit the 3-hour mark. I appreciate this. And I think I like this format, so hopefully we get some feedback on this format. The people on TikTok are probably super confused because they're only seeing like half of this, but I got 2,100 likes on the TikTok, so hopefully that's not too terribly bad. Let me see. Just one still. Yeah, well, listen. I mean, our fan film, the one we're working on now, he's out of New York. I believe Matt's out of New York. Am I correct?
I thought so.
Yeah,
he's out of New York, and his camera guys are out of Jersey, I believe.
Yep. And
then we're filming it in Pennsylvania for him to take around to film festivals, which I don't understand that. I don't understand the independent film part, especially when there's a licensing involved, because I guess he can't crowdfund a Lucasfilm, anything that uses Lucasfilm's property. I think there was a big stink about that a couple years ago, and stuff. But you can still make one. You just can't crowdfund or make money off of it or something like that, which is still pretty nice of Lucasfilm. So
well, and they do once a year at least for the last few years, have done the fan film awards.
Have they still? Did they still do that?
I thought so.
Oh, okay. Now, there, Ken. You brought up the one point that I keep trying to get Zoe to do this. Maybe you guys will listen. Podcasts need an award show. Like every podcast, like your podcast should do a yearly award show. Like you should just look at your 12 months of what you did for that podcast and come up with some award show that applies to your genre.
That's a fun idea.
You know, just for something different, you know, because Zoe and I talked about that. I tried her, you know, so what I'll probably do is around the end of March, I'll give her a list of things that she could possibly do just for fun awards. Because it comes down to what John was saying when you do like your top 20 of this, or, you know, it just gives someone to listen to.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You can have, like, for your award show, the award for like the best fan film made by one of your members of your show. Well, you only have one thing, and you know, just for the sheer fun.
Longest comment.
Yeah.
or the, you know, the longest iTunes review.
Yeah. Award
goes to
Bill
from Topeka.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, Bill, that's for you.
Yeah, and thank Captain Arc 77 has been directing people to my our YouTube thing. So, like I said, next time we do this, I'll put it better. I wasn't sure how successful this was going to be, and I would mark it up as really successful.
And Mike, if you want, I'm fairly proficient in Photoshop. So I mean, if you want, I can throw together an overlay.
Yeah. I'll figure out the dimensions. I'll give you the dimensions, and it just, you know, I have Photoshop. Honestly, I just cheat in Google Draw because I can do in 5 minutes in Google Draw. I just throw it on the sheet. But yeah, we can do an overlay. This multicolor thingamajig. Let me see if they give me a choice of changing background.
How good are you at the deepfake stuff? Because I think I'd really appreciate a different head.
That's Premiere and After Effects. That's not my forte.
I do have those. Zoe's good with that, but yeah. So I can't. It doesn't look like I can change the graphic, like this graphic color that's going behind us. That looks like that's kind of set. Let me see what this does. Oh, okay. That turns off the overlay of the chat. So. Yeah, I'll get you some dimensions. It's way later than I'd ever planned, so I'm gonna have to get some sleep. But let me see settings. Oh, there's a virtual background. Shortcut keys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, for a test drive, I thought this was a successful one.
Yeah, it was fun. Yes. So tomorrow or Friday, I'll get the audio squared away and send it to you guys. I'll probably just share it in the Google Drive to you guys, so you can do with it or not do anything with it. But you have 3 hours to chop up, and if you want to use the audio or video, I don't care. But especially John, if you're working on a podcast, I still highly recommend having a couple episodes in the can before you really launch it.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, it first gets you ahead, but it also gets people, you know, involved and reach out. Every podcaster. That's the other point I meant to make earlier is as podcasters, you never want to think of other podcasters as your competition as more as your partners.
Mm-hmm.
Because the real successful podcasts that really have just staying power, they have guests from other podcasts. It's like the old adage for blogs, where blogs started was you were supposed to find another similar blogger and you're supposed to quote them, and then it would build that base. And I think podcasters, like I look at Zoe's show when I pull up her demographics, her best shows are not the shows with guest stars. They're the shows with other podcasters. You know, like she's had Vanessa Marshall on, and there's some of her higher rated, with traffic, but her highest one is with Jonah Marie Macias she used to be the Wookiee Gunner. Now she does Geeky Bubble. She's one of the longest running female podcasters. And that got her, because then Jonah Marie's fans come check you out. And, you might get 20 of them check out and one stays. And, and vice versa. So.
Well, the other part about having a couple in the can ahead of time is it gives you time to practice.
Yep.
Because this is one of the, whether you're talking about the technology or just the getting in the rhythm, finding your voice, finding your place of comfort doing this. Because it's, yes, we've been talking tonight, but depending on the kind of show that you have, it may not be as loose as this. It may not be as free as this, depending on the show you decide to build. So.
And some shows have segments. Like I go back and forth with Zoe. Sometimes I want her to have segments. She does what she wants. But certain shows I like that have segments. Certain shows I just like free form. It's all, it all comes down to what you do.
Yeah, I can a couple ideas around.
I still think you should think of a co-host that doesn't know Star Wars.
I've got plenty. It's a matter of convincing them to sit through, an hour and a half of me just talking at them about Star Wars.
Well, do you crochet or anything like that? Could you be doing something while you're talking about Star Wars?
Making dinner,
Yeah, cooking in Star Wars.
I mean, I could be.
There is Starbecue, which is a cooking Star Wars podcast.
What? That's a thing?
It's called Starbecue. I went to one of their. They had a meet and greet / fundraiser in Lancaster one time, and they had a wing eating contest. And I was I joined it, but since I don't eat meat, they made me tater tots with the sauce.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. No, but I think if you had you think of successful sitcoms. So if you look at Seinfeld was the least funny on the show, and he had other people be funny that made his stuff funny. Does that make sense? Like he was like the straight man. So if you find a Star Wars podcast with someone that doesn't know Star Wars, I've had the same discussion with the droid builders that they were talking about doing a podcast. You need someone to ask questions for the audience that you might not think of. And the best person to ask those questions is someone who does not know Star Wars. It's like Ken, it's like your toy. When I listen to a lot of your shows, when the toy guys get on there, that is so interesting, but I would never know to ask those questions. And so sometimes if you get someone their question will drive your talk.
And remember to have fun. I know it sounds silly. Have fun with it.
Well, right. We must be having some fun because I was planning on doing this for an hour and we're 3 hours and 7 minutes in. I set my dishwasher to delay because not thinking I put the podcast side right near where the drain goes into the street, into the sewer system. And so when the water softener kicks in, it sounds like a train's going off in here. So I was like, I'll be done and in bed in 3 hours. Well, So.
Sure you will.
Of course. That's always
have a great night,
works.
guys. I'll catch up with you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Hey, I'll see you guys later. Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
You are very welcome, my friend.